Right. Okay, shall we start now then, right? Okay, wish you Happy New Year, my dear.
Happy New Year.
Yes, even though I'm disturbing your New Year scenario, New Year plan, but we just want to finish this class as soon as possible. That's what I just scheduled this class today, right? So far, we have discussed obligations. Sorry, what the money laundering is, what is the terrorist financing is, how to write structural adjustment, placement, then what are the money laundering offense, terrorist financing offense, right? Now today I'm going to discuss statutory obligation under the Financial Transaction Reporting Act. Hope I have discussed what the Financial Transaction Act is and 3 enactment relating to the AML-CFT just briefly. Now I'm going to discuss statutory obligations under the Financial Transaction Reporting Act. So here, what are the statutory obligations? What are the statutory obligations? So here, is statutory mean? Can someone explain me what the meaning of statutory? Statutory? By law, those are the obligations. So that means that's the kind of law. You have to comply. You have to oblige to this statutory obligation. Otherwise, become a wrong or illegal. That's what. So, statutory obligation by the law, you have to fulfill these requirements. That's what we are going to discuss today, focusing on the Financial Transaction Reporting Act. That's the masterpiece of AML-CFT in Sri Lankan context. So, by the time when we are explaining these situations, I will touch upon the international scenario as well in various countries and various jurisdictions to further explain and elaborate these situations to understand more easily for you all. So now remember that. So we are talking about statutory obligation under the statutory obligation to financial institution under the Financial Transaction Reporting Act. So here, remember that. Yeah, I am referring the FIs, financial institutions. But there are non-financial institutions as well come under our purview right now. Right? Non-financial institution like financial institution like bank, finance company, insurance, those kind of things are come under that. But in addition to that, casinos, gem and jewelry sectors, real estate sectors also come under right now, right? For us. But here I am going to focus, especially financial institutions, through their transactions, what they should not do and what they should do. But it's basically common to each and every sectors, whether it's a financial sector or non-financial sector. But here we are focusing more on the financial institution because the people believe, perception among all the people is general public and the world committee is these type of money laundering aspects are rooted through this, especially in the financial system, financial institutions. That's what we are going to talk, and we are trying to more focus on these financial institutions. What are these statutory obligations? By law, what are the obligations coming under these financial institutions? Let's see. Right? Now see, number 1, not to open, operate, maintain an account when the hold of that accounts cannot be identified. Cannot be identified. Now remember that. Not to open, you cannot open. And operate, you can't maintain. Right? Do the transactions. Account when the hold of that particular account cannot be identified. So that means by law, By law, so your obligation to identify who are the relevant person, who are the relevant individual who operate these particular accounts. That's the most important. If you have not identified the particular customer properly, right, we find fault with you. We find fault with you. These identifications, right, these identifications, right, so we call it as earlier we mentioned about the KYC or CDD, right? So right after this class, we will talk about, right, how we do the simplification of that, right? Simplification of that, or simplification of the KYC and the comprehensive one, right? Comprehensive one. Why we are doing so like that? But for the moment, right, remember that whether it's a simplified or complicated, before you open the account for your particular customer, you must identify who is he, what is he doing, what are the income, what are the source of income, those kind of things. There are many aspects to be obtained from the particular customer. So that's what the, right, not to open, operate and maintain account when the hold of that particular account cannot be identified. That include anonymous account, anonymous accounts and numbered account, right? Sometime back, they maintain, there are some banks or financial institutions that's worldwide, they maintain the, right, anonymous account, no name for that particular account, no name, but they have given the kind of code, right? Sometimes they give the number, say, right, 1959, like that, code or number, right? Code might be a digit, numbers or some letters or plus both, right? So these numbers, right, it might be a secret number which known by you all, like in our, right, set card, pet card, right, confidential number, right, similar to that. But here, this numbered account, right, sometimes there was a flexibility of that. You can transfer this number. You can hand over this number to someone else, right? Those who are having this number, those who are grabbed this number can withdraw the money, right? Most famous account in the world at that time, not now, is a Swiss bank account. Right? But no more this Swiss bank account in number form. Right? Number form. That's a prohibited entire world right now. Nobody cannot operate numbered account or anonymous account anywhere of the world. Right? That's an international recognized that this is the typical money laundering perspective and aspect. That's what by law, FATF financial transaction reporting, FATF financial transaction, I forgot the number again. Wait a minute. FATF, and I'll tell you, FATF, I'm a mismatch with the FTRA and FATF, right? FATF and, right, all other regional organizations, right, prohibited through their recommendations, they prohibited having these type of account in the world, right? So famous account holder is Swiss. Now they are also no more holding the particular accounts. Now remember that this code system were followed by, right, very secretly in a Panama account as well. That's also later on recover and, right, the particular FATF organizations, they have taken the strict action on the particular countries, those who have maintained the particular accounts. So remember that in the Sri Lankan context, being the FIU officials and the FIU Sri Lanka is not allowing anybody to, any financial institution to operate such account, numbered account or, right, coded accounts, include anonymous account and numbered account, right? So whatever the financial institution, those who are opening the account, whichever the account, even the right children, ladies, gentlemen, whatever the elders, whatever the account you open, there are procedure to be followed under the KYC. The document to be obtained, right? If you go to the KYC, the regulations of the FIU issued by the FIU, you can identify what are those, right? So the number one is not to open, operate, or maintain account when the hold of that particular account cannot be identified. And let's look at the next. Identify each customer and verify customer identifications, data or information as per KYC CDD rules. Right? That's what. Identify each customer and verify customer identification data or information as per KYC CDD rules. Right? Rules on know your customer, KYC and customer due diligence to the licensed bank and registered finance companies. Number 1, 2011, published in Gazette Extraordinary number 1699 of 10 March 2811. Amendment to the above Gazette dated 4th May 2012. Those are the masterpieces all the financial institutions should have. Being the compliance official, you must read these KYC CDD regulations, right? Otherwise, you cannot undertake, right, KYC CDD or accounts opening, practice in the particular account without knowing the right content of these regulations. If some official, if some bank violate these kind of things, FIU fine fall with the particular institutions. That's why, right? Identify each customer and verify the customer identification data or information as per the KYC CDD rule. Right here, identify each customer. Right? Identify each customer. How do you identify the customer? Right? Identify the customer. Now today, right, I am coming to your bank. Right? I'm coming to your bank. And asking, open the, right, savings account with you. Savings account with you. Right. Under the KYC, right, what are the details you are asking from me? What are the information you are collecting from me? Yes. Right. Now your turn. I'm coming to your bank to open the savings account. I have 500,000 rupees. Right? I have 500,000 rupees. I just want to open the savings account with your bank. Okay. Open account for me. What is the practice you are adopting? Those who are working in the banking sector especially, please. Anybody? I'm coming to your bank with the 500 rupees, right? 500,000 rupees, right? 500,000 rupees and asking you to open the savings account in your bank. You are in the counter, right? What are the practice and procedures you are trying to adopt in? Nothing? Now please help me to open the account now.
Name and the identity card number.
Sorry?
Name and the identification number, identity card or passport or driving license.
Okay, right. Okay. So what is the first question asking? So you are asking the identification documents, right? Is it? දැන් මම ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ බැංකුවට ආව ගමන් ඕගොල්ලෝ ඉල්ලනවාද ID කාඩ් එක මගේ? ඈ? කවුන්ටරේට ආපු ගමන් අහනවාද ID එක මගේ?
Basically, purpose of opening this account, the reason, basically.
Right. Okay. Basically, you are having the chat with me first, right? Okay. Before you asking the identifications, right? So just to have a friendly discussion with the particular customer, right? So what is your requirement? What type of account you required, right? So from where you are, right? So then right after the, right, you are satisfied with the particular customer to be open the accounts, right? You may ask the other details like ID card and the money and the verification documents CTC, right? That's how you start the conversations, right? Now see, remember that. How do you have a dialogue with the particular customers, right? ආපුවම අහනවා මට ID එක දෙනවා hello account එක open කරන්න කියලා කියනවද නෑනේ, right? So first you have a friendly dialogue with the particular customer and check with the what is his requirement, right? Then, right, you have to explain the procedure and practice of opening the accounts. Then if he interested to open the accounts, right, then you can ask for the additional details such as, right, identification documents, justification of that, and the clarification and the evidence to, right, opening the account, the objective of the accounts, source of funds, something like that, right? So that's what the procedure, right? Now see, remember that you are traveling in the bus. I'm just want to give the kind of simplified version on that. You are traveling in the bus, right? Hope you are not married, huh? Right? You met the kind of girl or boy which are having the much of the interest on that. So how do you approach the particular girl or boy? Huh? Okay, right. Let's forget about that because you are at the home front. You cannot answer that kind of questions anyway, right? So first you had a friendly discussion with the particular customer, get the kind of fair idea about the particular customer. Who is he? Right? Who is he? What is he doing? Right? What is he doing? Then having the discussion with the particular customer, you can get the kind of fair and, right, true idea, partly correct idea about the particular customer. Then you can check with his request, what sort of account he wanted to maintain, right? Then you can explain the requirement, then ask for the documentary evidence relating to the opening of the particular accounts. And friendly basis, you can check with the source of funds as well, right? Check with the source of the funds as well. That's what we are expecting from the particular customer. Having the dialogue with the particular customers, you can identify, you can get the fair idea about the particular customer whether he is really interested to open the accounts or whether he is really checking with you whether he can he can open the account and do the transaction without providing the correct and relevant informations, right? That's how the identification is most important, right? In case of customer identifications, right? Okay. Now, before that, each and every aspect, you must have a fair knowledge about what our requirement is. That's what the training aspect is most important for the bank officials. So at the end of this class, I will talk about what are the training, right? What are the training, right? Those particular individuals who need, right? But there are some questions. There are some questions, right? Under CDD, right? You must check with the particular customer. Even though I have not mentioned over here, right? Basically, through the practice and through the training and going through the KYC CDD rules of the FIU, right? You must have a fair idea about who is the customer. Who is the customer, right? Where he is coming from. Where he is coming from. Sometimes you are located in Columbus, say Borella, Narayanpeta, right? He is coming from the Kandy and he wanted to open the account in the Narayanpeta branch, right? Then you must be bit of count that he is in the Kandy. Why is opening the account in Narayanpeta branch? You have a kind of puzzles on that. What is the particular reason on that? So you have to get the justification on that, why he is trying to open the account in Narayanpeta, even though he is, right, he is permanently reside in the Kandy. Right? The particular customer should provide justification on that. Now remember that's the situation like this, right? So I'm from a Kandy, right? I'm from a Kandy. Okay, right? But I am a university student of Sri Javardhanpura. I'm a student of Sri Javardhanpura University, right? Right. So I'm a student. I cannot travel and I cannot go to the Kandy. For the time being, for the studentship period, I have to open the account in Narayanpeta branch. So now you have to get the valid documentation and verification whether those things are correct. Whether it's mentioned, those things are correct. Right? So with this verification, yes, you can take the decision to open this particular account in Narayanpeta branch or Nugegoda branch. Right? Those are the things, right? You must verify who is the customer, right? From where he is coming, his residential, and the business, and the assets. So those are the things you must look into that. Even though he is in a Kandy, his resident is there, his business is Kandy, why is open the account in Narayanpeta, right? You must get the justifications. But if he prove that he's a student of the Javardhanpura University, is boarding or is temporarily reside in the particular place, Narayanpeta, you want to operate the particular account, then you can find the certain reasonable justification to open the account, right? Then you must do the source of funds verifications, right? Right? How is getting the money? How is getting the money? There should be, right, evidence for that one also. He said that, okay, right, I'm getting the Mahapola scholarships, right, Mahapola scholarships. Okay, correct. Yes, he will provide the documentary evidence on that. Documentary evidence on that. Right. Further, he mentioned that, okay, I'm getting the 5,000 rupees as the pocket money from my father. Yes. Right? Now, usually 5,000 not that much of big money for you, right? It's become a pocket money. Right. So, those are the source of money. Right. You can satisfy about the answer. With the satisfaction of this answer and the fulfilling other requirements, you can take the, right? You can take the decision to, right, open the account. Now you know, right, who is the customer, from where he's coming in, from where he's locating, right? You know that what is his interest to open the accounts, right? So what is the objective of open the accounts? Then you have a verification of the source of funds, right? You know that he is the one and only beneficiary of the particular accounts. Withdraw money from the particular account by him, right? Then the, right? So you can check with the particular banks, the same bank he is operating. You can check with the nearest candy branch also whether he is having the accounts or not. Right? Get the further clarification on that. Right? Those are the informations basically you have to check on that. Right? I just explained the practical scenario, but going through the KYCDD regulations, you may find the, right, this explain the details of information you have to collect that depending on the customer and the, right, location of the customer and the depending on the geographical area, right? That's what the importance of the, right, identification of the customer, right? Then the, again, I just want to highlight, okay, before we go to the end of this, right, lesson, simplified KYC and enhanced KYC. Simplified KYC and enhanced KYC. Right. That's also I just want to explain at this moment, right? Now remember that. Now remember that situation like this. There are two situations like this. Right. Okay. Now, right. So say that I'm taking this example. That's only for the example I'm mentioning this particular bank name, huh? Right? Say BOC in Polonnaruwa. Right? Polonnaruwa. Okay. Now they open the accounts, open the account for a farmer. Right? We say he's a Bandara. Right? Banks check everything for him. Identifications. Check the name. Right? Remember that. Right? Whatever the documentary purpose, right? You have to identify customer by name. You can't use the nicknames or pet name. It should be in line with the identification name. Right? Right. Nickname mean, right, nickname by your friends. Remember that? Your name is Alvis. Right? Right? Your friends you call, right? Right? Allah. I have seen this name also. Huh? Then the, right, your mother and father, they will call you, right? Okay. Niranjan. Right? So when you are opening the accounts, you can't use this pet name by your mothers and father, and a nickname by your friends. Right? It should be in line the particular identification documents, NIC, passport, or driving license. But usually now we are more focused on the NIC. Right? So that means you cannot have a nickname or pet name in the particular accounts. Right? Now BOC Polonnaruwa, they have opened the account for the Bandara. Right? Source of verification of the funds. Bandar say that okay, he is a farmer. To justify particular evidence on that, he provide the farm identifications. Then go beyond that identification or ganda chemicals ganda identifications. Go handrum pata. Bank accept it in addition to the NIC. Then the right banks know that he is a Bandar as per the NIC, as per the his farmer's identification document, he is a farmer. He declares his income as a right 50,000. 50,000. 50,000. The money will come in seasonal basis. Why? Right? Being the farmer, paddy cultivator, he is getting income on seasonal basis. Right? When you know, Matthew, මට අප්‍රේල් මාසෙ තමයි රුපියල් 50,000ක් විතර හම්බෙන්නේ කියලා. 50,000 is annual income. Annual income. Right. Being the farmer and looking at the pattern of a cultivation in Sri Lankan context, and by looking at the extent of cultivations, we can assume that he will receive the 50,000 income. Yes. On seasonal basis. So Yalamaha season, Maha season, he is getting 50,000. Yala, he is getting 25,000. Right. That's the justification of the income in terms of the documentary evidence provided. Right. So based on that, we know that this is not the complex situations. These are not the complex situations. So we can undertake the CDD on simplified manner. By looking at the history, say that this year we have opened this account, another 1 or 2 years by monitoring these things, nothing change of this transaction pattern. Transactions pattern. Right? Remember that right after 2 to 3 years, right? His pattern of income might be changed. This is the one aspect I'm talking to you. Right? Now, instead of 50,000 in April, he put in each and every month 50,000. Right. Now you have a doubt on that. Why? Being the farmer, by looking at the historical perspective, he cannot have that much of income. Then you have to be vigilant about this particular money. How this particular individual Bandar has received these 50,000 each and every month. Right? Then you have to be vigilant on that and check with the particular customer why he is getting this money, what source he is having, right? If you have a kind of doubt on that, then we will come to the STR reporting point. Remember that. So I'll come to that point. I just want to, right, explain you CADD simplified version and enhanced version. So while increasing the income and his transactions, right, you must have a knowledge about the, right, enhance the customer due diligence. That's the one scenario. Now look at another scenario like this, right? I'm taking very simple example. Huh? When you do the practical analysis, those example may not fit for you. Huh? Just to explain purpose, I'm taking this example. There are much bigger version to discuss. Right? We can share if you have physical class, we can discuss all those things. But for the moment, right, there are restrictions on that. Now remember like this. Take the example, okay, right? So, Rupa Singh, right? I'm a university student. University students. I have an account with, right, Sampad Bank. Yes, for the electrician purpose. Right, I declare so. So my name is Rupa Singh. I have a university ID. Then my income, I justify as a 10,000 for the pocket money of my father. Right. Throughout this 4-year period, right? So I got this 10,000 using the set-top pet machine. I'm spend withdraw, right? Or spend this money. There is no any change on that. Right. He has given his permanent. So I have given my permanent address and a temporary address. Temporary address because of the I am a right border close to the university. Right. Provide all the details, my NIC and all other details, and the provide the details related to my studentship as well. So you are satisfied. Right after the 4 years, right? I'm a pass out, and the secure job in, right? Say that HSBC. Right. Now my income is 100,000. My income is 100,000. So now all the details should be changed accordingly. So bank have to collect and correct all those informations. Might be his temporary address, he might be changed. The location might be changed. And his income also changed now. Now here his job is students. Here job is executive of the particular bank. Executive of the particular bank. Right. That's the third stage. Right? He married and had a kind of binda marriage with his wife's place and changed the address to the number 48 Gold Road, Panadura. Right. Those updated information need to be recorded over here. That's what they enhance. Simply that's the instance. So that means wherever information get updated, those updated recorded should be, right? Update record should be in the back profile. Bank profile. That's what the enhance CDD. One aspect. Right? So in addition to that, forget this scenario now. That's the number 2. Then number 3, right? So these particular individuals, right? I'm moving out of the country. Right? Moving out of the country. Right? And a secure job in Dubai. securing a job in the Dubai. Right? I'm drawing my salary in dollars. Then what is the scenario now? What is the scenario now? Then his KYC again need to be changed in line with this new jobs and new place. Then you have to verify whether he's working in a Dubai. Get the verification documents on that to justify whether he is working in a particular country. And then he is maintaining the dollar accounts. Then you have to change the account status as well. Right? That's the kind of scenarios are changing time to time. Right? Time to time. That's what I'm telling this. Under this KYC, there are instances where required the simplified KYC, time being, and sometimes you need to have a enhanced CDD. That depend on the country to country you are. Country to country you are. Right? This updation of the informations depend on the customer. Depend on the customer. Right? Depend on the customer and the location of the customer. Right? So based on that, you must update his informations. Now remember that if the locations is vulnerable, you must do CD in frequent manner, very short a period. Frequent manner. If it's not vulnerable and going through this, that's what I take the farmer's example, then it may not be a much tough or difficult to have a simplified version on that. Right? Okay. So then you must read and understand what the KYC and CDD. Being the banking and financial institution compliance officer, this become a masterpiece of the compliance when we are working in especially in the counters and have a direct dialogue with the customers. That's what the training is most required. We'll talk about what the training you require. Then the next, reporting institution to maintain and retain the record for 6 years from the date of transactions. By law, whatever the transactions you have undertaken with the particular customer, you have to keep this documentary evidence at least for the 6 years. You cannot destroy this particular document for 6 years. Right? What are these documents you can keep with the particular customer? Remember that document relating to the transactions only. Right? For 6 years. But your KYC details forever. Right? So this transactions, right? Record of transactions you can keep for 6 years. Transactions mean, right? Transaction the particular account for 6 years. But also in these 6 years are depend on these certain criteria. As I mentioned you should not destroy right after the 6 years all the KYC details. KYC details you have to maintain. That's the requirement. Then the transaction details you can keep up to 6 years if right, there is an investigation. There is an investigation by the FIU by the FIU, right? You have to keep this document until FIU advise you to destroy. Then the 6-year limit may not apply. Then the second aspect, if you got the court order, right, you have to keep or secure this document forever until the court or FIU tell you, right? That's the exception under this 6-year transactions conditions, right? Usually what is happening in the practically now, banks and finance companies tend to keep these records more than 6 years, right? There is a lot of argument by banks and finance companies with me and FIU and others, right? Officials. The cost of record keeping is costly. Yes, costly, right? To keep the record, you have to keep the space. You have to hire the space because sometimes the customer transactions are millions of transactions. If you put into the documentary evidence, right, keep the documents, it become a big bulk form, right? Keep this document in some place is a costly for the financial institution. Record keeping is costly, but we cannot help on that because that's the requirement by nationally and internationally, right? Whatever the cost, you have to bear on that aspect, right? Reporting institution to maintain and retain the record for 6 years from the date of transactions. If there is an investigations by the FIU or law enforcement agencies or any direction from the judicial authorities, you must keep these documents more than that particular limit. So that means more than 6 years. Sometimes you can't say by looking at the court procedures and investigation procedure in this country, you can't say even, right, date of finishing those kind of investigations. Because of that, it's a kind of burden for particular financial institution, particular banks to keep the record. But whether we like or not, we have to maintain this particular record, right? Did you understand what I say? Hello? No answer?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right? I'm talking about the record keeping transactions, right? Destroying the transactions. Now remember that if you not fulfill this requirement, later on I will explain what are the penalties and the repercussions on that, right? So it's another aspect, the reporting institution to conduct ongoing due diligence and scrutiny of the customers, right? So that's the enhanced due diligence which I mentioned earlier, right? But I just want to highlight it further because of the one reason. So there are customers, there are some simplified customers in a banking or financial institutions. They will have some fixed income, right? If I am working in the particular institutions, right, my source of income is only the salary. Source of income is salary. Say if it is 50,000, that's throughout the period, I'm getting this salary. There's no change of the income. right? So say that this particular individual, right, Mr. Silla, he working in the company, he's drawing the salary of 100,000, right? Then he is part of his family business. Through that, he is drawing the monthly salary of 200,000. He's an investment guy also. Investment. He's doing the share trading, getting the profit, right? Share transactions, say about 300,000. So likewise, his income is changing. Right. Now, being the right first one, Mr. R, one and only source of salary, income is salary. So we can believe this, right, for a certain period. Right? So you must do at least, not in a frequent manner, right? You must have a kind of checkup of the particular customer, whether he is still in the working same place, whether he has changed the working place, whether salary has been changed, right? So likewise, you must check the status of the particular customer, not in a frequent manner, right? But right, situation like this, even though you are not doing it frequent manner, right, you have to have ongoing due diligence to check the source of income, whether this particular guy is really getting this income. Verification of the source of income. He say that, okay, right, salary I'm getting it. You must have verification document about the salary and employment. Then he say that, okay, family business 200,000. You must have verification on that. Right? He say that, okay, share trading, he's getting this much. Right? Whether he's actually engaged in this one or he's engaging in, right, any other business. So you must scrutinize these particular customers on ongoing basis, right? Ongoing basis. That's what the verification of the source of income is much important, because we have noticed that there are some customers, there are some account holders, they provide all those documentary evidence to the banks. If you have not verified the particular individual, if you have not verified this particular source of income in a physical manner, they will try to find out, fool you. There are some lot of drug traffickers of doing this type of business. I'll get the one practical example which happened 2 to 3 years ago. Right? This is happening especially in the retail business and hardware business. We have to be very careful on that. But we know, right, prices of the retail business and hardware business are increasing day by day. Right? Day by day. So we can presume that his income may also, profit also may be, turnover may be increased. Yes. But to a certain extent, yes, we can have that expectations. Right? But it's not totally correct. It's not totally correct. Right? So what's happened is, there was one gentleman who operate hardware business in Peta, right? So by looking at the price of the hardware items, you can imagine the turnover of the particular business. One bank branch, right? They haven't considered increase in trend of the right turnover of this particular business, because they're happy. They're having a good customer day by day, monthly by monthly. His business turnover is increasing. Bank also getting money. Particular branch cash deposit also increase day by day. They haven't care on that. They haven't done any kind of due diligence on that. They haven't scrutinized how this money comes. Right? They totally depend on the customer. They assure the customer. He assured his word. Right? What he mentioned, those are the income of hardware business. But later on, there was a tip ongoing on that. Right? Ongoing that, this particular business was raided by the police, law enforcement agencies, and found out that right behind the bar is a drug trafficker. Right? So prima facie, he's putting his choice in the hardware business as a legitimate business, but his actual business is drug trafficking. So then this kind of scenario, bank have to be very careful, right? And analyze the trend of particular customer. Why this income is, you can have a justification within a shorter period. Particular business can have that much of income. Being the bankers, you must have this knowledge. That's what you must have a relation with the particular customer. And right, day by day, money come into the accounts. You must be vigilant. And you must scrutinize the particular customer, right? How he earned this particular money, why this money, that much of money come into that particular business. That's what your business practice, right? When you are understanding about the business and customers, you must have a fair idea about the margin of the business. Retail business, hardware business, liquor business, you must have a kind of knowledge about the margin of the particular business and the turnover of this particular business. If you look at the liquor shop, yes, we know that December and April, yes, their turnover will be increasing. It's a normal scenario. But there are maybe exceptional circumstances that particular liquor shop or particular individual might have a extraordinary turnover. That's what the signal you have to be look into that. Right? So those are the kind of tips, information you are having on that. Now remember that if you have not properly identified, if you are not properly scrutinized your customer, right, the other institution, regulatory institutions come and find out the fault with you. That's what I am telling you. This is the most important on the CDD and the FDRA also, right? Okay, up to now, any questions, any clarifications? Because this is very important for the banking and finance business, huh? Identification of the customers. CDD.
So,
Yes, yes, please.
yeah, say customer, for example, a
Yes.
customer is having an account, say for in like Horana or somewhere, and he is doing the transaction
Yes.
in somewhere Chilo or somewhere. Okay,
Right.
the daily cash movements are coming from Chilo,
Right.
but the actual customer holding the account at Horana branch.
Account holding the account where?
Horana branch.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get you.
Horana branch.
Oh, Horana branch. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
but the
Transactions
customer
are right.
at Chilo.
Okay, sure.
Okay, for example.
Yeah.
So does the, like, if there are any significant transactions are happening over the counter,
Yes.
does the Chilo branch teller or the cash officer or the branch manager
Yes.
having the duty to
Yeah.
perform due diligence action?
Right. Now remember, yes, situation like this. Now our banking systems are allowed to cash withdrawal and deposit in any branch. Okay. Because of the networking. Yes. Is the customer in Horana? He opened the account in Horana branch. His transactions are happening in a Chilao branch. Right? Okay, nothing to worry on that. So nothing to worry mean. Even though his account is at the Horana branch, he's doing the transaction in the Chilao branch. Money or transactions are routed through one particular account. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Now that's the kind of point. That's a very good point. Now there is an obligation by the Chilao and Horana branch, two branch. Now you must look at the transaction of the particular customer. That's the compliance job, right? Even though he is maintaining the account at the Horana branch, transactions are always happening in the Chilao. You may find, why is that? That's the compliance job. Why is that? Right? That's the number one questions. Then, right, Chilao branch official tell someone else who is right accepting the money, undertaking these transactions, he must be vigilant. Yes, account is in Horana, but he is always in doing the transaction in Chilao. Why the reasons? Why the reasons? He can have a chat with the particular customer once he come to the deposit money, right? Why he's doing the transaction through this, and why is changing this particular business to place. If the customer say that, okay, even though my account is Horana, right, my business right now in a Chilao, right? Chilao. That may be happen, right? I opened the account in Polonnaruwa, but right now I'm in Colombo, right? So in that sense, right, bank have to take a decision to operate this account either in Horana or Chilao, depending on his customer transactions. That's the number one, right? Now, while going through both branch, both compliance official, sorry. Right? So if it is the same bank, right, you must have a chat with the compliance officer, because the compliance function is a common to each and every bank and branch. They should have a discussion with the particular compliance team. Okay, I shall look at this. These guys opened the account in Horana, but he's doing the transaction in Chilao. Look at the situations over there. They can ask for the information about from the Chilao why this customer is in the Chilao, why is undertaking the transaction in Chilao. He can write the customer, that's the Chilao, branch manager, there's a particular, tell someone else, check with the particular customer why you are doing this business over here and there. There might be reasonable reason to undertake that. Not always criminal. But he said that, okay, even though I opened account in Horana during my school age, right? Now I am putting the restaurant in a Chilau, right? That's the cash and profit time deposit in it. That's these justifications, right? So you must have this justification by verification. And sometime bank can take the decision, okay, right? So transfer this particular account to the Chilau branch. Because his business location is this place. His location is this place, right? So that's the one aspect you can see. The second aspect, right? If the banks are thinking that, right? Banks are thinking that, okay, right? These transactions are not properly done, nor accurately doing. Then you can, right after the check-in with the compliance team, you can take the decision what to do and how to do. If I any suspicious on that, I will tell you what to do on that when we are going to the STR reporting mechanism. Okay? Right? So that's, yes, right.
So for example, if the customer tells that he is doing a seafood business or something,
right?
So what is the source of document we can collect?
Yes, so that means you can ask for the document revision about the sales.
So they say those type of transactions, normally they don't issue like documentary evidence, no?
Right. Okay, say that, okay, seafood transaction is auction or something like that in the shop.
No, he's doing like bulk business or something like that.
Right, yes. So what you have to do then as a bankers, what you are verified? How can you verify it? That you have to undertake the physical visit over there, right? Whether he's really engaged in the particular business or not, right? Physical verification is the most important for the banks to justify, right? Reason he is providing to that. Reason he is to provide into that. Whether he is getting the money through this particular seafood business or not. There might be some vendors, right? They are going to make kind of bulk purchases, right? And they made wholesale business and they keep the money in the particular branch, right? So we must ascertain that. We must ascertain that's the obligation of the bank, right? Whether he is really doing the particular business or not. That's the source of fund verifications, right? Ask your bank manager, particular branch manager official to make a kind of inspections on that. Otherwise, you cannot verify it. So you can't trust the words given by the particular vendor. Might be instead of the seafoods, he might be doing the kind of drug trafficking transactions over there. Yes. How can we believe it? How can we trust it? Right? Because if these kind of illegal money come into the particular accounts, that's your fault. That's the bank fault. That's why you must verify the source of funds. It's not in that the opening of the accounts. In a frequent manner, you have to do it. That's what CDD means, customer due diligence. It's a kind of tough job. That's what I'm telling.
Yeah. So another question, sir.
Yeah.
So the Financial Transaction Reporting Act come into effect during 2006.
That's right.
So prior to that, there are no strict regulations.
Yes.
With regard to account opening and all.
That's right.
So, for example, the particular bank have lost the record like KYC and the initial what called mandate account opening mandates.
Yeah.
Are the banking institutions eligible to obtain a fresh mandate?
Yes.
Is there any legal repercussions or something?
No, the thing is, right after the establishment of the FIU in 2006, we issue the kind of circular to each and every institution to update the customer profile of each and every banks, right? We ask them to update all the customer base, So whatever, whatever the information is available as far as our informations, bank confirm that they have done it. There might be instances where they have not updated the information with the particular customer. Those customers might be sometime migrated. Might be those customers are not available in right now. So justify that one, you have to prove that effort you have taken to update these particular accounts, right? Otherwise, you just can't say that, no, sir, we cannot do it. Right? You show that the effort you have taken to update this particular account. Now, say the account opened in 1990. Now, 30 years back, right? 30 years back. Sometime these customers may not be available. He may be migrated. But it's the bank obligation to get the updated information about the particular customer, right? If you have not updated this particular information, we find the fault with the particular bank, because we have given the chance for the particular banks 3-year period to update all the records of the old accounts, existing account before 2006. Until 2009, we have got the exemption for the each and every financial institution to update all the information. We got the confirmation from the banks, even they say that they have updated all the information. Now, you can't say you haven't updated, right? Right? You have to do it, right? If you have any type of these kind of practical difficulties or some accounts, you have a dialogue with the FIU what to do and how to do. But we believe that the information having with the FIU, we got that all the information you have updated. There's sometimes most of the accounts are what you call that the dormant accounts, right?
Yes. So
yes, there is an exception on that dormant account by the bank supervision department, how to operate it. The funds have been transferred to somewhere else, I believe, central bank or something like that, right? So that's the scenario.
That is after 10 years abandoned property.
Yes, that's right, after 10 years.
Yes.
Right?
But if the customer say, before the abandoned property, say if the customer is not operating at all any accounts, but he is having balances in the account, but there is no possibility of updating like KYC, no? So because customer is not visiting the branches.
Okay, now yes. Now again remember like this. Now say that for 10 years or 15 years, he haven't come to the particular bank to withdraw money or update the account, so whatever. So that means it's become a dormant account, right?
Yes.
So in case of dormant account, there is a separate procedure. So you have to follow it, right? Now remember that if the customer come anyhow, right after 10 or 15 years, if the customer come, right? If you're trying to update the particular account, that's your obligation to get the right and correct information on that. Remember that right after that much of period, if the customer come and he's trying to update the particular accounts, it's a kind of really suspicious also, operating the dormant account. You have to be very vigilant on that, because now the system has been implemented this for more than 10 to 15 years now, right? We can't find any excuse, and the bank cannot find any excuse on that, because we have given the ample time for the financial institute to update all the information. That's the kind of grace period we have given. Other countries, they haven't done it, but in the Sri Lankan context, we have given a much more grace period on that to update the all the old document, right? That's now you can't say you are right. You have this much of document like that. Now, whatever the things, now there is a separate regulation on dormant accounts, right? The bank has given us undertaking about all the accounts are updated. Now, if the customer haven't come over, if you try to update it, depending on the circumstances, you can update the particular accounts, right? If it is a the particular customer operate in the dormant account, you have to be very careful and vigilant on that. Why is right again, right? Revisiting the dormant account, that's become suspicious for each and every time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, a frequent checking of the customer's source of income is a little bit of manual process for a branch. Think of a branch with a lot of large customer base and online transactions. Is it possible, or is it recommended to do it through a system centrally, or how do the other countries do that? That means
no. The only thing is, so before open the accounts, you have to get the verification of the customer income. That's the one and only source document at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So if the pattern of the transactions or income are changing time to time or frequent manner, that's the obligation of the particular bank or financial institution update these particular informations. Now, as I mentioned you, this hardware business, right? Hardware business. That's a good example. Now again, before that I take another example. As a salary from the particular job and the partnership income, then the investment income. You must guess the justification of the particular resource of funds, right? Otherwise, blindly you cannot keep this money in your particular account without verification of the particular source, right? We find the fault with you because you haven't undertaken the fully KYC in that scenario. Source of verification of the particular customer, right? Source of verification of the particular customer is a must. That's the must, right? That's what we are telling all the compliance meeting, each and everybody to, take the appropriate action to verify the customer identifications, its location and source of funds. And sometimes you may employ the kind of person, individual, to look into his business, right? You may have to have a field visit, right? Get the kind of justification through the mail or email, right? Like that. Email may not be correct, but mail you can do it. So register post, send in the letters, right? Physical visit, you can get the justification. Now say today I can say, okay, I'm living with my wife. My address is Panadura, right? But I may not be there. But I'm telling to the bank, right? I'm living somewhere, right? So you trust the particular customer. That's what we say, that the frequent manner you have to undertake CDD, customer due diligence process is that. Whatever the changes happening in the customer database, that's your obligation to update it, right? If that's what under the KYC regulations, we are expecting you to provide 100% accurate informations. Remember that 100% accurate information from you. If you give the false informations, our decision may not be correct. Our decision may not be correct, right? If you are given the 100% information, our information might be 100% correct, because we are using your information to fulfill our requirements. If your basic informations are wrong, our decision may be also be wrong. That's what, if we find out any kind of loopholes in your system, you update your database, we will take the action on that. That's what we have given the instruction for each and every bank to keep and update the database in line with the internationally recognized system, right? Internationally recognized system now.
So another question.
Yes, please.
When it comes to account opening of like institutions, like limited liability entities or clubs and societies.
Right. Yes.
So the KYC, does the financial information of that particular institution is a must?
Yes. Yes. So whatever the informations, right? Whatever the information, their source of income is must. Their business nature of the business is must.
No, not the source of income. Like it's the financial position of the institution. Like what is that? Like what is the turnover? Like per annum. Like what is the assets positions? Like liability position.
Right. Now look at that one. before you open before you open the account, you have to have assessment about the particular company.
Yes.
Right? So when you are doing the assessment, you basically, in terms of the KYC, there are documentary requirements to be fulfilled, right?
Yes.
Yes. So then, without the kind of financial assessment about the particular company, how can you open the accounts? Tell me. Without knowing the turnover, without knowing the profit margin, right? Without knowing the directors, how can you open the particular accounts, right? If it is a new business, yes, there's a rationale. There's a rationale, but frequently you have to monitor. You have to get the details of the particular company, whether it's operating in line with the details given to you, right? If not, it may not be a company, right? So that's what I'm always telling that under the KYC, you have to be very vigilant. That's what the enhanced due diligence is a must. Enhanced mean is that, frequent manner, you have to be vigilant about your customer base. There is an argument by the kind of particular banks and branch say that our customer base is very large. Very large. Yes, we know that, but very large mean the particular bank or branch cannot handle the unbelievable accounts and unbelievable customer base. That's what. If you are getting more and more customers, mean you have to expand your facilities and branches. That's what. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Another clarification.
Yes, please.
When it comes to the CDD regulations,
yes,
like the point number 97 of that particular gazette tells that where 2 or more accounts are opened in the same financial institution by one customer.
Right.
Does that mean that is the same category of account or multiple accounts?
No, the same category of accounts. Now, if you want to open the 2 current account in a particular branch or banks, right? Sorry, particular branch, right? So you get the kind of rational justification on that. Now see, see. I will take the example on that. I'm working in a particular institutions, right? So I am keeping one account for my salary, but in addition to that, I am having the private business, right? Private business. So for this private business, I need another account because I am owner of this particular account. So these justification, yes, right? You have a rationale to open 2 current accounts, right? 2 current accounts for that one. But you know that these, justifications have to be there. Just justification have to be there. If you open right now, that's not applied to the 50%. FDs is not applied, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you can open any number of fixed deposit accounts, but this is, that you see that you are working in the company, your income is only the salary. Why you are having the 2 accounts, current accounts? What is the rationale on that? Right? But if you have a job plus business, yes, there's a rationale of opening the 2 accounts. But if you have only one income, salary, why you are having the 2 accounts? There should be rational on that. Irrational way, you cannot open the accounts. That's what we tell that there should be justification for each and every things. If you can justify it, right, might be accepted. You know that why we have limit that one is we have seen that these money launderers and terrorist financier, they open the multiple account in each and every banks and the same bank and same branch, right? That's easy for them to transfer money. I don't know whether you listen to me, right? Under the that placement, can you remember that? Yes, those 3 things, right? These funds can be transferred here and there through the multiple accounts to hide the origin of the particular money. That's the reason behind that. Otherwise, if we have a rationale to prove that, right? Rationale to prove that, yes, we will accept it, right? We are not trying to hamper the customer or bank. We need the rationale and minimize these AML CFT things that happen in the particular institutions. That's what. Because, ultimately you are the loser. You are the penalized guy. That's what. We are trying to avoid those things that happen to you, right? We are trying to, right? We are trying to mitigate the things that are happening to you. Remember that aspect, right? Okay. Any questions?
Sir?
Yes,
can I
please.
ask a question?
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
So, what will happen if we open an IIA account, investment account for the foreigners?
That's the, but there is a procedure for opening the account for the foreigners, right? So that's governed by the Exchange Control Department, right?
Yes,
So
in that point, we only know the person, but actually we don't know how to confirm their income.
Yes, no. But that's right. That's the but these accounts are introduction of these accounts are by the Foreign Exchange Department. But you have to follow the FIU rules and regulation with regard to the right opening the customer account. KYC, there is no exception on the KYC on that. There is no exception with the KYC on that, right? That's your obligation to verify his income and source of funds. These verifications you have to be, right? There is no exception on that. So you are now so this is a foreign. In case of foreign, you have to have a counterpart banks to verify the source of funds.
Yes.
That's a third-party arrangement which are acceptable and recommended by the FIU, right? You have to follow that mechanism. Otherwise, if I encouraging wrong money, illegal money coming to the particular bank or particular account, we find the fault with you, right? You have to follow. No, there's no exception on that. There's no relaxation of the FIU regulations, even though these type of accounts are open and maintained, right? Google देखला थी कोई हत्तर के एक्सेम कर लेने हैं release कर लेने हैं, right? आइन कर लेने हैं. That's there, right? Verifications, KYC, and the source of our verifications is still there. There's no relaxation on that. You have to have a reputed third-party arrangement to get those informations.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Now there are some misconception and misguided individual in the market right now, right? Remember that. If you listen to the media stories, speech in these days, you might be vulnerable. You have to be very careful. There is no change of the law, right? Until the change of the law, right, the things are still continuing.
So another question.
Yes.
So say now these days, when you check on the FB pages and all,
yes,
there are online like lending facilities are happening, like with the applications and all.
Right.
So ultimately, those funds are coming to financial institutions.
Okay. How?
Say, like after generating the particular lender or someone, after generating that particular profit,
right.
he used to come to financial institution.
Okay.
At
yes.
certain point of time.
Yes.
So such like online transactions are allowed by law or the CBSL, because they mention as it's registered under Companies Act number 7 of 2007.
Right.
But there are no legal instructions mentioned saying that it is registered under CBSL or somewhere.
Okay. Yes.
The central bank is allowing such lending activities.
Central bank is allowing?
No, I'm asking.
Yes. No, my dear. Now remember that. So there is a specific enactment relating to the money lending, right?
Okay.
Borrowing and lending, basically in our country, those institutions governed in the banking and financing staff permitted to basically, forget about that. For the being the financial institution should be approved by the central bank. Without approval, they cannot undertake money lending business.
Yes.
Banking business.
Yes.
Right? If someone is undertaking money lending business without approval from the central bank or any other institution, but there are other institutions permitted money lending. Now see Samurdhi Bank, those are not come under the central bank.
Yes.
Rural bank, they are not come under the central bank. There are, cooperative bank, they are not come under central bank. There are various institutions, various governing bodies which permitted those type of money lending, right? Now, basically, if it is a bank, right, whether it is approved by the central bank or not, or permitted by the other institution, I'd say rural bank or cooperative bank or whatever the institutions, right, they are permitted to lend money, right? So that means they have to have a permission to lend the money, right? Now, remember in our country, basically, right, those who are lending money, they have to secure the permission and approval for a whatever institution relating to the money lending, right? Either from a corporate body, cooperative development authority, department, Samurdhi authority, or central bank, right? Those are the basically institutions governing this lending aspect. Other than that, those operating these money lending practices and procedure, those are not legal. Before you go those type of things, you must check the validity of those institutions, whether it's online or not online. Right? Now you see that there are institutions mushrooming through this online business. Now remember that nobody thoroughly analyzed these kind of things. Now remember, right? So I have come across about the one lending institution, not one, 2 to 3 lending institutions. So they say that they Facebook or whatever the media, they publish the advertisement saying that, okay, 50,000, 100,000 easy loan at the rate of 1% no 2% no whatever, right? Quick loan or something like that, right? So before disburse the funds, right, they are asking the details your particular accounts, right? Right? Then the password also they are asking. So we have to be vigilant, right? If it is a lending institution, the prudent people have to check where those institutions are registered. Number 2, you should not give your banking details unless you satisfied about the particular institution. You know, that's Payment and Settlement Department, FIU also, even the Sri Lanka police also, they made a lot of notice and publication and awareness and the advertisement and each and every media not to divert these type of information to these type of institutions, right? So that's what we in our side, this level of compliance side institution, those who are working in this field, they have given the warning, advisors, media, right, those kind of advertisement to each and everybody. Even though the situation like that, these cunning people, these money lenders, and our greedy people are getting the assistance from those people. That's much vulnerable to the economy. That's what we are telling, that there are some online business, right? They are moving, right? Even without any facility and any location, so any structural manner. So that's what so we have to be very careful on that. This was the awareness is most important. Another aspect, right? There are some lending institutions, their collection and disburse accounts are maintained in some finance companies and some financial institutions. That's the kind of pathetic situation in our scenario, right? They open the account in one bank, they operate that particular account through the online basis, right? They open the account, say bank X and Y, right? They get the fund to that particular account, then they disburse fund through these particular accounts, right? Though if the particular bank or finance institution maintains such accounts, you have to be very careful on that particular accounts and particular institutions. That's basically, those are legally not permitted business they are undertaking, right? That's create the suspicious nature of the particular business. That's your obligation on yours to report that kind of things to, right, FIU, law enforcement agencies, by looking at the nature of the particular business. That's your obligations, right? So awareness is most important, but only thing is our people are very greedily getting this money. මේ ඔක හරියට මේ අපි කියන මොනවාද මේ පොලි මුදලාලියක් business එකක් නෙවෙයි තියෙන්නේ. පොලි මුදලාලි is not registered anywhere, right? This online also used as a පොලි මුදලාලි. right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, yes. Any other things to be clarified? Okay, the reporting institution to conduct ongoing diligences and scrutiny of the customers. That's what so we become a kind of, we have lengthy discussion on that. The obligation of the particular institution, bank or financial institution, reporting institute to conduct ongoing due diligence and scrutiny of the customers, right? That's how, right? Any kind of suspicious nature of business and customers can be identified if you scrutinize particular customers or particular institution on continuous basis. Otherwise, if you open the account and keep this account in for years, you don't know what is happening through that particular account, right? The team of the compliance is to watch and monitor transactions happening in this particular account, right? There are, right? That's what we need, the very strong compliance team and very dedicated compliance team to monitor and watch these kind of transactions, right? So mandatory reports, right? Mandatory report. So banks are required to, right, make reports to the FIU, right? So cash transaction report, electronic fund transfer, suspicious transaction report. So now remember this cash transactions and electronic fund transfers. We use this Lanka PIN system. We are now trying to move new version of the international recognized reporting system right now. All the instructions and training of official we have done. So we expected to finalize this system this year 2020, but because of the corona, right, we haven't done it. But hopefully by end of this year, we are trying to finish those kind of reporting system. But in case of cash transactions and electronic fund transfer, right, if it is a cash, right, rupees 1 million no above, 1 million no above. And the electronic also, right, whether it is a rupees or equivalent of foreign currency, 1 million and above, to be reported to the FIU, right? Right after the finishing 2 weeks of the particular period. Now, cash, here cash means, right, deposit and withdrawal. Here electronic funds also, right, deposits and withdrawal. What? Electronic fund transfers, that is the exception on that bank-to-bank transactions are, right, bank-to-bank transactions are not required to report to us, right? We assume that there is no money laundering between banks, right? Okay, any transaction exceeding rupees 1 million in cash or equivalent in any foreign currency is required to be reported to the FIU through this particular systems, new system or old system, right? Electronic fund transfers, any fund transaction transfers exceeding rupees 1 million or its equivalent in any foreign currency done electronically is required to be reported to the FIU. Now, those are withdrawal and deposits. Reporting requirements, we have to be very careful on the reporting requirements as well, right? That's what the most of the bankers are forgot. Now, this is the way you have to report it. Now month is divided, say this month is divided into 1 to 30 January, so right, first day to 30 days. There are some 31 days also, some months, right? We take the 1 to 31st days, right? So 1 to 15 days transaction to be reported to the FIU between right 16th to 31st day within this, right? So that means first 2-week transactions to be reported to the FIU within last 2 weeks of the particular month. Need to get my point, right? So first 2 weeks of the transaction of the particular month should be reported to the FIU last 2 weeks of the particular month. So that means first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. This is the January. This is the February, right? First week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like that. These 2-month transactions, first week and 2 weeks transactions, to be received by the FIU during 3 weeks or 4 weeks before end of the month. That's the requirement, legal requirements, right? Then the 3rd and 4th week of January transactions, we should receive, right, within the first week and 2 weeks of the February. So that means 1 to 15 transactions of January, 1 to 15 transaction of January, 1 to 15 transaction of the January to be received by the FIU during the right 1st to 15th of the February. Then the 16th to 31st January transaction should be received by the FIU 16th to 28th of February. That's the requirement, right? If you violate this requirement, if I will take the action on that, this reporting requirement is much more important because, right? So those informations are going to the FIU database. Right? So we are expecting to get 100% accurate data from you. This data should be 100% accurate, right? Because our database consists of input given by you, right? We are using this information data for our analytical purpose. If you give the wrong information to us, our analytical output may be wrong, right? Our analytical input may be wrong. Our output may be wrong. If you provide the wrong informations, right, our output may also be wrong. Because of that, we are expecting from you all to provide 100% accurate information. That's what, if you are not in line with this requirement, we impose the penalty on you. We fine you, right? That's what the danger of these situations. Because our decisions, if FIU decisions, our output are depend on these. Input from the banking institution and financial institution. If you give the wrong information, mean our output may also be wrong. Because of that, we are expecting 100% accurate information from you, submitting the data and then your database also, right? That's what our expectations, right? Reporting the suspicious financial transactions. This is the most important part for the FIU, right? suspicious transaction report, STR or STR. Right? Our operations, our actions depend on these aspects. If you provide the suspicious transactions, yes, we can take the action on that, right? If you are not provide the suspicious transactions, if we find out later on you haven't reported that one, we can also take the action on it. Remember that, right? If you submitted the suspicious transaction for us, yes, we can take the actions on the particular STR suspicious transactions. If you have not submitted suspicious transactions, we have, right, we can take the action on you also, right? Either way, it's a work it. Now remember, what the suspicious transaction is, STR. Important for us, most important. Say, by look at the FTRA, section 7 of the FTRA is defined like this. If the reporting institution have reasonable ground to suspect that any transaction or attempted transactions may be related to the commission of any unlawful activity or any criminal offense to be reported by way of mail, email or telephone call, that to be follow up in writing within 24 hours. Section 7 of the FTRA, Financial Transaction Reporting Act. That's the most important part. If the reporting institution has reasonable ground to suspect that, reasonable ground. Now remember that word also. If the reporting institution have reasonable ground to suspect that any transaction or attempted transactions, both transaction completed or not yet completed, right? Transactions or attempted transactions, not completed but attempted transactions, right? Commission, right? Transaction, attempted transactions may be related to the commission of any unlawful activity, right? Commission of any unlawful activity, which we discussed earlier. We discussed what are the unlawful activity earlier. So commission of unlawful activity, or, right, or any criminal offense. Unlawful activity, which I have mentioned that, or any criminal offense. Any criminal offense, right? When we are talking the civil law, criminal law, we know what the criminal is. Any criminal offense, right? Any criminal offense, right? To be reported by way of email, right? By email, telephone call, and follow up by in writing. In writing. Now there are few important points over here. Number one, suspicious on transactions or attempted transactions. That's the number one. Right. Transactions, A, transactions completed or attempted. Right. B, right, maybe commission of unlawful activity unlawful activity or criminal offense. Right. C, by way of email or telephone call. Then D, within 24 hours. Within 24 hours in writing. 24 hours. Within 24 hours in writing. Those are the important things when we talk about the suspicious transactions. Now, what is the suspicious? What is the suspicious? How can we get the suspicious? Which way? They can have a psychiatric, right?
Transactions are deviating from the normal routine transactions. And with the KYC?
I couldn't follow you. Tell me again.
So if the transactions are deviating from the normal routine transaction and not complying with the KYC?
So that means, is that a suspicious, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. No, yes. Right. Now the suspicious mean, right? Now, you know, when we are dealing with the customer, right? You know his pattern of transactions. You have a fair idea about this pattern of transactions, right? If you notice, anyhow, if there's any unusual pattern of transactions, unusual money deposits, right? Unusual cash withdrawal without any justifications, that create the suspicious, right? Or otherwise, is not willing to provide, right? He may not be willing to provide the money he is going to deposit in the particular accounts, right? That's how. Now see, right? Those are the kind of suspicious. There are a lot of ways of generating suspicious. Now we'll take the one or two example like that. Now see, I'm a wage earner. My salary will come to the account, say 100,000 or whatever, right? Suddenly, I will come with the cash of 10 million rupees to deposit my accounts. So last couple of years, money I deposited is only my salary, which are drawn right from my job. But now I got the 1 million rupees, sorry, 10 million rupees, and come to the bank account and I want to deposit this money. By looking at the pattern of transactions, you may notice that I won't be getting the 10 million rupees quickly and suddenly. So you have to get the justification on that, how this money come into me, right? So you can question particular customer, right? So by the questions, he may not be willing to deposit money. He may be ready to go. He may be ready to go, right? He may not be deposit and he may ready to go to. That may be the attempted transactions. Right after the questions, right, you may understand that he may, if I question further, he may not deposit the money. Right? He may not deposit the money. Then while questioning the particular customer, you have a reasonable doubt about the source of funds. Only thing is, our advice is, don't send this money back. Don't send this money back and encourage customer to deposit this money and report to us. Because you have a reasonable doubt about the particular money, your reasonable doubt about the particular money, right? Source of verifications, right? Send us the suspicious transaction report STR, then we will undertake the balance of that rest of the work. Right? Okay, that's the number one scenario. Number two, you can say that, okay, sir, I have a 10 million rupees because I have sold my property, which was given by, right, given as a dowry. Yes, you accept this policy, word of the particular customer, and ask for the documentary evidence to that. If we provide this documentary evidence within a very short period, say today you accept the money, give him a time, say, okay, by tomorrow morning you provide us the documentary evidence. If we bring this money, so documentary evidence, and you satisfied about the documentary evidence he provided, then you don't have any doubt on that. Then you are not required to, right, verify and justify and report this TR. But the particular customer, right, he deposit the money, but he haven't come to the particular branch, particular bank to give the verification on that, then that's the time for you to report this TR. Right? Even, right, even before the verification, you are allowed to write, you are required to report the particular STR. If you get the source of verification on that, immediately you can tell that we get the right source of verification on that. So this, why we are asking immediately report these kind of STR, doubt, suspicious, because once we receive this suspicious transaction report, right, by looking at the particular transaction STR report, with the background information available with us, we will immediately take our action on it. Right? Our action on it. I'll tell you what are the action we are going to take on that once we receive the STR. Now remember, at this moment, right? Okay, why we are telling it to, right, send us email and telephone, because we require to take an immediate action on it while looking at the particular STR, while listening to your story. Right? If you are telling us, sir, you know, these kind of things, these money are really doubt for me, then we will take the immediate action about the particular money or particular accounts. Right? That's what we are asking your response through the email and telephone call. But there's a legal requirement. STR should be in writing and signed by the compliance officer or, right, permitted officer in the particular bank, authorized person of the particular bank. But it's depend on the country to country. In our country, we are asking to all the STR should be submitted by the compliance divisions. Chief compliance officer related to the AML should sign the particular STR. Right? That should reach FIU within 24 hours. Within 24 hours. That's the kind of our practice and procedure of sending suspicious transaction report. Right? If the reporting institution have reasonable ground to suspect that any transaction, attempted transaction may be related to the commission of any unlawful activity or any criminal offense, to be reported by way of mail or telephone call, that to be followed up in writing within 24 hours. So usually telephone calls will be given to the head of the FIU or additional or in charge of our suspicious transaction monitoring unit. Right? So we have a dialogue with the particular compliance official. Then we know we are familiar with the voice of the particular officials. By telephone call, we will accept it. Otherwise, if it is by the not familiar guy, we have a doubt about that. Because of that, we are telling those information to be passed to us by the relevant compliance officer, because we have a right numbers, contacts, and we are always familiar with all the compliance official of the particular institutions. Then we are trusting the word of the particular compliance official. We are taking the action on it. That's how we are working practically, right? That's reporting suspicious transactions. So any question about the reporting suspicious transaction, because this is the most important part of the right FIU compliance and the level of compliance, right? Hope you got the idea. Now the question here is, how can you create the suspicious? Now suspicious can be created in a different ways. The one way I have explained is undisclosed funds to be deposited in the particular accounts. There are maybe a lot of occasions, situation where suspicious can be created. We have given you some red alert situations, right? Suspicious create, right? So that because of that, so you have to be very familiar and clear about the suspicious of the transactions. Now remember that, okay, there might be instances where some accounts are operated through only on online. There is no physical presence, right? Might be deposit may be done in the night time, no daytime. There are reasonable suspicions on that. There might be dormant account might be open, operate quickly without the permissions or informing to the banks. There might be suspicious. The huge money will come to the particular account. Online no transfer through the other countries, other accounts, other banks. So likewise, suspicious can be happen in different ways, right? That's what the team of the compliance of the particular institution, they should, where they are familiar about the what the suspicious is, how the suspicious can be created, how the suspicious have to be reported, and what are the action to be taken in case of the suspicious. That's what. So this familiarization and practicality is the most important for the reporting of the suspicious transaction report, right? Once we receive the suspicious transaction report, within the FIU purview, we have a certain action on it. But basically, I will tell you, right? So if I see that mean, if I satisfied about all the informations, right, what we are doing is, once we receive the suspicious transactions, we look at the background, we collect the background information about the particular customer, particular institutions, particular transaction. If we satisfied about the particular transaction is a suspicious for us, immediately we take the action related to the suspend of the particular transactions or accounts of the particular customer or entire account of the particular customer in a various financial institutions, right? Might be a particular account or maybe all account of the particular bank or entire banking system, depending on the circumstances and suspicious created, we will take the action on it, right? That's what that's what we require, right? Almost 100% accurate information from your database. That's what we are telling, that if you provide the wrong information, our information will also be wrong. our decision may also be wrong. To avoid such things happening, that's what we require from you to provide all the information in accurate manner, right? Accurate manner. Right, so we'll wind up the class for a 15 minutes break. We'll have a cup of tea and come back in 15 minutes. Thank you. If you have any questions about the STR and the processing part, please question me right after the break. Right, thanks. See you in 15 minutes. Okay, right, take a 15 minutes break. Hello. Are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. Right, now, okay, reporting the suspicious transactions in writing within 24 hours. Yes, that's your obligations. Now, even I have explained you, right, situations where we received the SPR report to the FIU. But you know that within the banks also, you have a certain procedure that's depending on the bank to bank. I just highlight main features of the SPR reporting by the banks, the procedure you are adopting. As I mentioned you earlier at the beginning, suspicious transaction reporting methodology in the countries are different from jurisdiction to jurisdictions because the nature of the particular FIU and requirements. Even in the banks, right, there are maybe smaller differences between each and every bank, but commonly we are asking each and every bank to follow common format. Common format mean, right? So you have to identify. Number one is identifications of the STR. Identification of the STR. STR, right? This may be, this may be a grassroots level officers. Grassroots level officers. Right? Because the cash deposit to customer interactions, right? You know that cash deposit customer interactions are basically based on the lower level officials. Say the teller O, right? One, so you know that second level officials, or sometimes the managers, branch managers. Those are the people who first identify the suspicious nature of the particular transactions, right? Then they will, once you receive these kind of suspicious nature of the particular transactions, right? That's the obligation of the particular bank to collect and double check the available informations. available informations. Available information to justify this STR. So they carefully watch the background. Identify the STR by the junior level officials, sometimes might be the branch level manager, and right, they will check the background of the particular customer and the availability of other informations. Then the right third stage is reporting of the STR, right? Reporting the STR. As I mentioned you, jurisdiction to jurisdictions, that's depend on the nature of the particular country and FIU. But in our case, we are asking the AML compliance officer to be signed this document. Sign the documents and inform to us. Before submit, we say that by email or telephone calls, that job have to be done by the compliance officer. Right? And within 24 hours, this document had to be submitted to us. The signature should be the particular compliance officer. That's our requirement. Right? As usually banks will follow those procedure. Right? So our requirement is particular suspicious transactions, STR, have to be signed by the compliance officer. Otherwise, we may not accept it. But remember that by signing the particular documents, right? Particular documents, right? It will give the kind of validity of the particular STR reported earlier. If you have sent the email, telephone call, if you have not received the in writing with the signature, we cannot accept it as a legally valid documents. That's what we are asking, right? These type of procedure. Usually, bank to bank, these procedure may not be equal, may be changed. But ultimately, whatever the STR to be submitted to FIU have to be signed by the compliance officer. And the STR informations, once we received, it should be informed to us by the compliance officer, not by the other officials. Right? Therefore, you should have branch level or the official capacity. Each and every bank and branch have a much coordinated relationship with your AML compliance officer. Right? Right? That's what we are expecting. Now remember that, okay? So we receive the STR. Right? We receive the STR. Then we'll see what is happening now. Right after the submission of the STR to the FIU, right? What you have to do. Right? What you have to do. Okay, right after the submission of the STR, under the section 9 of the FTRA, not to divulge the information to other parties. Right? Once you submitted the STR to the FIU, you should not divulge those information to anybody. Anybody. Right? So you have sent this document to the compliance officer. Those who are involved in this process should not divulge those information to anybody. Right? Should not divulge information to anybody. Not to divulge information on the STR. Right? That's what the requirement now. Otherwise, once you submit the STR about your friends, right? You should not talk it to your wife or husband or your friends at the canteen, right? Or your neighbors. That will carry huge penalty. That's the prohibited. Prohibited. Divulge of information carry penalty plus imprisonment. So remember that once you provide the STR to FIU, you should not divulge those information to any party. Any party, even though you are 100%, right? 100% trust. That's what I told you, even to your wife. Right? Why is that? If you tell to wife, she will take to neighbors, right? Neighbors will take to neighbors of the other village, and that will go to the lake house and ultimately to the Reuters. Right? That's not the practice. Right? Divulging of these informations carry huge penalty plus imprisonment. That's what who has submitted the STR, especially compliance team, should not divulge those information to any other party. So that means you must protect the confidentiality of those informations at the 100%. 100%. You may have a question, right? Whether those information provided to the FIU, whether that has been divulged to anybody. No, my dear. We have a 100% guarantee on that. Whatever the information we received through the FIU, nobody have access to those information unless authorized persons, right? Those authorized persons are subject to the double secrecy, right? If anybody, right, so far, right after operating FIU more than the 15 years right now, we haven't seen any leakage of those informations. We haven't had any chance to leakage those informations because we have multi-million worth of informations of the particular customers in the financial system in the country. So don't worry about the our part, right? So protection of the person reporting the suspicious transaction, right? Now, that's a protection for those who are reporting the suspicious in your bank side also, right? Your CEO, compliance officer submit the STR, right? STR, he or she has a protection by law, right? Protections. Nobody can take the action on you or particular individual. Protections. What is the protection by law is, right? Under the section of the Financial Transaction Reporting Act, nobody can take the civil actions. Civil actions. Right? Criminal actions. Criminal actions. Or disciplinary actions. Or disciplinary actions. Right? So against the person or institutions, if you reported the STR to us, to your bank, nobody can take the civil actions against the particular compliance officer of your institutions. Nobody can take the criminal actions against the particular compliance officer and particular bank. And who can take the disciplinary actions? Who can take the disciplinary action? Within the institutions. Now see, compliance officer submitted STR. Submitted STR on your CEO. CEO also wrongfully doing the transactions. Right? So board of directors or CEOs are not empowered to take any disciplinary actions against the compliance officer. That's the protection given to the compliance job. Nobody, even your CEO, board of directors, are not allowed to take any disciplinary actions against your compliance team or compliance officials in case of submitting STR. That's we call as a powerful and a vague, right, enactment. if you take the, if we find out any kind of action, disciplinary actions against the compliance officer, right? We will take the actions against the particular banks, right? There is a practical scenario we have come across. I think at the implementation of the FIU regulations, one compliance officer was subject to the disciplinary action by the particular banks, right? Bank CEO was questioned the compliance, saying that why you have reported the suspicious transactions about the particular individual. Particular individual is a very good friend of the CEO, right? Without informing to me. He was subject to the disciplinary actions. We come across those informations. Immediately, we have a call upon the particular CEO and make a strict warning not to take the actions against the compliance officer. Right? That's how we manage these situations. Right? So compliance officials are protected by law. Without that, we cannot undertake this job. Why? Sometimes we may have noticed that within the bank even, there are some officials undertaking these type of offense. Right? Sometimes some managers will undertake this type of offense because of the hierarchy instructions. Right? We should not allow to happen in those types. That's what we are telling, that compliance function should be 100% independent from the other activities. They should have authority to take decisions on the operation of the banking, especially in the STRN, right? AML, CFT matters related. That's what no criminal, no civil, no disciplinary proceedings against the person or institutions. Right. So this is the appointment of the compliance officer. By law, each and every institutions, they should appoint the compliance officer, right, for the FIU activities. Now we have seen that, right, if you look at the regulatory structure of the banking institution and finance institutions, right, there is a compliance divisions who undertake all the compliance functions, right? Say, even though we are located within the central bank purview, right? So bank supervision department, they will supervise, right, particular banks, right? Payment and settlement department supervise the particular bank. Foreign exchange department supervise the particular bank. Being the FI, we also supervise particular bank or institutions, right? Even though, even though you are appointed the compliance officer for the particular, all the regulators, but there is a legal requirement for you to appoint the specific or separate compliance officer for the FIU operations. That's what the most of the bank, they are having the compliance officer AML, right? AML compliance officer, right? So this is the requirement under the law. That's under the law. That means every institution shall be required to appoint the compliance officer responsible for ensuring institutional compliance within the requirement of the Act. What is that? Financial Transaction Reporting Act. Every institution shall be required to appoint the compliance officer, right? Responsible for ensuring institutional compliance within the requirement of the particular Act, Financial Transaction Reporting Act. That's the legal requirement to appoint the compliance officer. So that's what we are getting the confirmation from your CEO about the FIU appointing the FIU compliance officer, which has been, right, endorsed by the CEO. right, to fulfill this requirement. Otherwise, you may appoint the compliance officer. He will look into each and every compliance aspect, right? So that's not our legal requirement. Our legal requirement is to appoint the separate compliance officer for the AML requirements. That's what the Section 14 of the Financial Transaction Reporting Act says. Then that's the obligation of the compliance officer and the particular institution to establish and maintain the procedure and system too. That's the compliance officer and institutions. That's their obligation to, right, establish and maintain the procedure and system to identify the customer, KYC and CDD, right? Each and every bank, every financial institution, they should have customer identification procedure. That's the number one, right? CDD procedure, right? Each and every officials have to be aware of that. So that means the training is essential for in that scenario, right? Top to bottom, awareness have to be there. Otherwise, they don't know what the KYC and CDD, right? So almost all the people have to have a right requirement about the record keeping, how to keep the record, what type of record have to be keep forever, what type of record have to be keep for 6 years, what are the limitation of the 6 years. So those record keeping legal scenario need to be known by the each and everybody. So aware of all the officers on the relevant laws. What are the laws relating to, right? What are the relevant laws relating to the, right, particular, right, particular scenario. Now you see, right, each and except the, right, not only the compliance team, AML compliance team, right, not only the AML compliance team, right, everybody should know it, right? Top to bottom officials should know about the law. What is the AML law? Because sometimes people can be clued up, right? If the senior people know about the law, if the juniors doesn't have anything about that, right, perhaps these juniors may follow the seniors' instructions, managers' instructions, without knowing the law. To avoid such things happening in the particular institutions, we expected all the officers of the particular institutions are aware of the law. That's what I have seen that most of the commercial bank in Sri Lanka right now, at the beginning, at the recruiting level, they create awareness among the AML CFT laws and the KYC regulations. That's what the expectations. They screen all the person before hiring for the employment. That's the job of the compliance officer as well, right? But usually in our recruiting procedure, compliance officer may not be sitting on their board or whatever, inter board or whatever, but there should be screening process before hiring the person for employment in the financial institution. Usually that is happening in our banking system, right? We are asking the police report, criminal report about the particular individual. Why we are having this much of strict condition on that? We should not, banks should not encourage criminals to come into the banking business or finance business. If the criminal comes to that, that's easy for them to undertake this criminal aspect. That's what we are asking everybody, every institution to, right, screen the people before, right, hiring the employment. And not only that, those who are working in the compliance divisions have to be perfect people, those who are not related to the criminal record. and the disciplinary action record even. Right? That's what because we need a pure people, clean people to work in the compliance. Otherwise, those who are involved in the money laundering aspect, if they are in a suspicious on that, if those people put into the particular divisions, that place may be given for them to undertake particular transactions. To avoid such a things, right? That's what, before we appointed the compliance officer, we are getting the assurance from the CEO about the particular compliance officer. You may see the compliance appointing, right, forms and requirement by the FIU that will explain each and every aspect of all those things in terms of the law, governing law. Right. So then the compliance officer have to have established of the system for reporting suspicious transaction report, STR. Right. This is the job of the compliance officer, compliance team to, right, implement the system for reporting the suspicious transaction report. Right. The reporting line may be changed from bank to bank. Right. Reporting line might be maybe changed to bank. But as I mentioned you earlier, final report, so that means report the FIU will get have to be signed by the compliance officer. Right. So all the STR should be in writing, right, to be signed by the relevant officer. Right. Sometimes you know that in case of big banks, compliance officer may be in the head office. Right. Suspicious transaction might be routed through the particular branch. Right. Particular branch. So in that sense, there are maybe different signing office on that. Now see that at the branch level, Mr. A has identified suspicious. He may be send it to the branch manager, and the branch manager may send it to the chief compliance officer. That's the obligation of the compliance officer to submit the signed copy to the FIU. Now see, while submitting these type of STR, there are 3 segments of involvement. There are 3. Who is that? Officer who identify the STR, manager who have seen that, and finally compliance officer sign these documents. So yes, but there are some practices in most of the big banks of this type of nature. But remember that all these 3% have to protect integrity and confidentiality of the STR. Right? Teller who received this STR, he should not tell it to anybody. The manager who's seen this STR, he should not tell it to anybody. And finally, the compliance officer who submitted to us, he should not tell it to anybody. Right? So likewise, at these 3 steps, right, confidentiality have to be maintained. Right? Confidentiality have to be maintained. But definitely, right, big banks follow this kind of scenario of identification of STR. What we are telling is, right, once the primary level officer identifies the STR, he or she have authority to inform it to the compliance officer. Otherwise, if those things are routed through the manager or senior official, it might be leaked out, or it may not be, right, able to provide the suspicious transactions. We have seen that practical difficulty faced by the junior level officials. Right? When you're having the training class, sometimes they said, sir, manager dunni nahi kevande. Right? Likewise, there are some allegations on that. Because sometimes manager may know that particular customer. He's not willing to provide the STI about the particular customer. But even though junior official know that, he's a vulnerable guy. Right? That's what we are instructing the compliance officials to, directly have a dialogue with the particular officials. Right? Then they know what is happening on that, right? Otherwise, if routed through these kind of practices, it may be leak out, may not be suspicious transaction, will come out to the FIU. That's why to avoid such a delay and right resettling of the STR, right, there should be right compliance teams and reporting officials, integrations and interaction between these officials. That's what the awareness and training are most important for junior level as well as the senior level officials, right? Otherwise, we cannot undertake this job. But there are sometimes we have reported that once the compliance receive the STR, suspicious transactions, they will have a discussion with the CEO. That's the kind of, right? That's not encouraging practices. Compliance officers are not encouraged. It is not his duty to discuss with the CEO whether it can be reported to or not. Now look at that. There is STR about your CEO, right? Your CEO. If you inform to the CEO, he may not be willing to provide that STR. Otherwise, even, right, even that situations, compliance officers are independent to handle this STR matter, FIU matter. That's what we say that he should be protected by civil, criminal, and disciplinary actions, right? Otherwise, if something happened through the CEOs, because if you look at the CEOs of the international banking business, sometimes they have undertaken the criminal activities. They have undertaken the criminal activities. That's what these functions, FIU functions are, right, to be handled in independent manner. Otherwise, we cannot, right, we cannot do this kind of jobs, right? Okay, right. So because the train the officers of the office of employees and the relevant agent to recognize the suspicious transactions. So that's what the training is required. Training is required, right? Training is required. Why this training is required, right? Otherwise, you don't know how to identify the suspicious transactions, right? Frequent trainings are required. Frequent training, right? Top to bottom training are required for the officials, right? Now see, this AML CFT world, right? AML CFT world, right? The way of money transferring, way of doing the criminal activities day by day changing, and they will come in a different ways, right? So because of that, training of the officers and employees is most important to recognize what is the suspicious is and what are the suspicious transactions. Now 10 to 15 years, the way of money transferring are very simple. Deposit money into the accounts and transact or give the instruction for the transaction of these particular money to account, to customer to customer. But today world is different. Online you can instruct, or online you can transfer money, not only the one account, even your own accounts or someone else's accounts, right? Without any rationale, without informing to the bank, right? But there should be very competent, right? Compliance official to look into that, why those money has been transferred to the particular account, why those money has been transferred to the particular bank or branch or particular individual accounts. What is the rationale behind that, right? So compliance team should be to analyze and understand these pattern of these transactions. If they create the suspicion, that's your obligation to provide those suspicious transactions to the FIU. That's what I told you, right? The methodology, transfer of money, day by day changing, right? The AML CFT related methods are day by day changing, right? Right. That's what 10 to 15 years worlds are not longer there, right? We are having a new world on this criminal aspect. This training is must for each and every employee on AML CFT aspect to identify the suspicious transaction. Otherwise, these fraudsters are also so superior of doing these kind of things, right? They are very superior on that. Perhaps, right, gentleman type people undertaking these type of transactions. That's what the important point we should know. Okay, then the powers and function of the FIU, right? Now you should have thorough knowledge about the, right, internal STR reporting system, which in line with our law, right? And the idea of the reporting line, powers and function of the compliance team and compliance officer, right? What the CDD is, how to identify the customer, what is the suspicious created, all those things. Now we see the powers and functions of the FIU. What we can do if we are not properly adhere to the FIU rules and regulations, right? So, okay, look at that one, right? Right. So our main function of the FIU are, right, main functions of the FIU is to collect and receive of the information related to the financial transactions and unlawful activities as defined in the Act. This is the, there are two scenarios over here. We have to collect informations. So we have to collect informations, right? And we have to receive the informations. There are two types of information we receive, right? Two types of information. One we have to collect, one we have to receive. What are the information we have to be received, right? Cash, electronic, and STR. We should receive it from you. Because by law, we have given the instruction for you to provide those informations, right? Then we receive those informations. Then what are the information we have to collect, right? In addition to those information we received, as and when FIU required any other information, you should provide to us. That's been collected. If you ask for the KYC details, yes, you have to provide. Right. If you ask for the transaction for the 10 years, yes, you have to provide. Right? If you ask for the company details, yes, you have to provide. That's been 100% accurate information. So that's what we mean that we can collect the information, we can receive the information. Right. So now see, we receive the STI about, right, Mr. R. Right. We receive the information from you. Right. Then we collect the information from you. We are not satisfied on that. Right. So we can collect the information from other financial institution as well. Right? If you see that we have 25 banks, we can get the information from such 25 banks. If we have 30 financial institutions, we can get the information from that institution. If we have 10 insurance companies, we can get the information from them also. Right? Even under that situation, if you are not satisfied about those information, we can call upon the other FIUs. Yes, we can ask for the information available about this particular individual. Then they will send it to us. That's the arrangement, right, among all the FIUs. Right? That's how we collect the information. Collect and receive information related to the financial transactions as defined in the Act. Right. See the vast area of collection of information by the FIU, right? From the particular institutions, right? From the information from the particular sector, other relevant sector, and there are the relevant FIUs in other countries, right? We have information collection methodology and institutional framework among all the FIUs, right? Among all the FIUs. So we will undertake such information collection as well, right? So we have international organizations to facilitate those one, right? We have a agreement with the FIUs to share those information among the FIUs, right? When I mentioned about the Egmont group, that's the one facility we are having, right? Egmont group, they provide the information among the particular customers. If we write those information available with us, in addition to that, we have signed the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the, right, all the FIUs, not all, right, most of the FIUs in the world, to share the informations. Then we have a MOUs with the law enforcement agency to share those information which are available with them also. So that means our information collections are much more bigger, right? We have a wide avenue to collect the informations, right? Collection and receive the informations relating to the financial transaction unlawful activities as defined in the Act, right? Conduct the investigation into suspicious activities on the basis of such information, right? Once we receive the STR, through this mechanism, we collect all the informations, right? We collect the information. So internally, we collect the information as much as possible related to that STR. If you are not satisfied, we go international and collect all the informations, right? If you are not satisfied on that, we will look at the other avenues like law enforcement agencies and other regulatory agencies and collect information from them as well, right? Conduct investigation too. So then, based on the such informations, we will, right, initiate our investigation on that STR, right? That's the lengthy process for us, right? So based on that, right, our job is to, right, disseminate such information and details for investigation of law enforcement authorities and relevant regulatory authorities to institute legal and enforcement actions against the suspicious parties, right? So we directly cannot file the case because we are administrative FIU. But if it is a police FIU or judicial FIU, they have power to initiate legal actions. But in our case, we cannot do it. So we have to get the assistance from the law enforcement agencies to further investigations and the Honorable Attorney General Department to file the case, right? File the case, right? That's what we initiate the, right, action relating to that. If it is related to the law enforcement case, law enforcement, right, STR relating to law enforcement, we refer to the police. We refer to the police. There are several divisions of the police, right? PID, CID, like that. We refer to the relevant divisions, right? They are the people who conduct the investigations on behalf of us based on our information, but we are fully cooperate with them. Fully cooperate with them. Right? Right now, we have separate CID team come under the FIU. So that means we are referring those kind of cases to FIU CID team. Right? There are more than 20 officials working with us. Right. Then if it's relating to the regulatory aspect, we check whether it's a regulatory, right, breaches. We refer to the, right, we refer to the particular regulator. regulator, right? Perhaps it might be the central bank regulator or out of the central bank regulator. If it is related to the banking, right, regulation violations, we refer to the banking department. If it is related to the foreign exchange, we refer to that foreign exchange. If it is related to the right immigration, so whatever, or custom, we refer to the particular institutions. So they will conduct their investigations with the coordination of the FIU. We give the fully support for them, right? Remember that each and every stage or aspect, FIU investigations, collaboration with the particular institutions are strictly confidential, right? No information to be leaked out by those particular institutions or particular agencies, right? That's the nature of our operations, right? So if they find out any type of violations over here, right? They find out any violations over here, right? Right? If the violation relating to the law enforcement, right? Law enforcement will check the legal actions with the support of the Attorney General Department. So legal actions, right? If you relate to a regulatory breach, regulator will take the regulatory actions in line with the FIU requirements. This is the way they are taking the actions, right? Right. Then the issue of the regulation to prevent the parties from using the financial system to engage in unlawful activities. So our main job is to write regulations, guidelines, instructions to all the reporting institution to preventing financial system engaging from the unlawful activities. The most important part is KYC CDD rule. In addition to that, you may notice that various kind of guidelines and instructions are given to those sectors, right? So that means that's the preventive measures we are taking rather than the engage in those activities, right? If you follow those rules and regulation properly, those are the preventive measures. If you are not follow, we will take the relevant actions, right? Relevant actions relating to that, right? Then in addition to that, we are carrying out examination as per the section 15(1)(e) and end of the Financial Transaction Reporting Act. We are empowered to conduct examinations, supervision of your activities, right? Supervision of your activities. We have separate supervision divisions, those who are engaged of these supervision activities. So sometime a FI official alone will come and do the supervisions, right? They will come and do the supervisions. But sometime they will come with their prudential regulator as well, right? That's a joint supervision by prudential regulator. If you look at the banking supervision department, they are the prudential regulator. If I jointly come with those officials as well. Sometime we will come, but we will ask in the prudential regulator to come with us, because they will look at the prudential aspect, we will look at the AML CFT aspect, right? So that's the one way of doing it. Otherwise, we can instruct the prudential regulator undertake supervision or examination on behalf of the FIU. We have authority to do that. Rather than sending the FIU officials, we can instruct particular regulator to undertake the examination or supervisions on behalf of us, right, on behalf of us. So that means FIU official may not become, right, entire power is vested with the particular prudential regulator, go through the procedure and practice, and if there is FIU rules and regulation violations, they are required to report us. That's how the powers we are having. So direct examinations and the using the prudential regulator. Right. So in addition to that, we are conducting the training program for all the stakeholders. Perhaps you might have noticed that we have a frequent training program in various places to educate about the FIU operations, bankers, right, financial sector people, non-financial sector people, and the general public as well, right? If you require the kind of training from the other side, so we can provide the resource person to conduct this program. But basically during this Corona period, we also conduct online classes, online training programs, depending on the requirement. In addition to our training center, right now training center courses are not that much, but online courses are conducting. So it provides you various kind of aspect, micro level training on FIU operations. Right. So in addition to that, conducting awareness program for the general public. So general public, especially we are conducting this program for the government employees, senior level government employees, administrators, right? So planning officials, right? Likewise, because they also should know those kind of laws, because otherwise, you know, these criminals, they may use those people as a vehicle to undertake their own activities. That's what we have noticed that. If you look at the pyramid, right? Pyramid come under the, right? Come under the, right? Our, right? Unlawful activity. But most of the time we have seen that reputed government officials use as a vehicle to undertake these activities, right? Those people may not have a proper idea about what the pyramid is, right? They look at only the commissions or money they are, right, getting from the particular business. That's all, right? That's what awareness program for the general public is most important. Otherwise, criminal will look into that aspect as well. Then they conduct research, link analysis of name safety trend as per the section 15.1. And based on the information available to us, right, information data you provided, right, we have a link analysis, the trend of what is happening in the money laundering, what are the trend of the money laundering in the particular period, which are the vulnerable sectors, what are the product vulnerable at the moment. Likewise, we will look into that as well, right? So that's what the, right, research and link analysis are most important to identify the new trend. Right. Then we monitor cross-border currency movement. Cross-border currency movement. Perhaps you might have noticed that those who are going abroad through the airport, right, you may see that there is a currency declaration requirement which was imposed by the FIU. Those who are bringing the currencies and those who are taking out the currencies, there should be declared if it is more than the 10,000 US dollar, right? Not only the currency, cumulative money in draft, cash, checks, they have to declare it if it is more than the 10,000. That's a universal requirement. We will also adhere to that requirement at the airport level. If you move out of the country, each and every airport, you have to have these declarations. Otherwise, false declaration or non-declarations carry huge penalty, right? Huge penalty, right? So these reports, whatever the declarations, you have to submit it to the custom department. We implement those requirements through the custom department. Then we are asking those information to be passed to the FIU on a frequent manner. So based on that, we will take the necessary action on that. Right. Then they entering into agreement with the government institution agencies. We are having to exchange informations among those famous institutions, law enforcement agencies, regulatory agencies. We have signed the MOU, which I mentioned earlier, right? There are so many institutions come under our purview right now, right? Sri Lanka Police, Customs, Security Exchange Commissions, Insurance Board, right? Inland Revenue Department. Those are the most of the institutions come under us. There are many institutions come under us through the MOU. The objective of those MOU is to share the information with them. Remember that we are getting their informations, but we are not sharing information with them unless it is for the AML related matters, right? Otherwise, for their prudential investigation, we are not providing the information. That's only for the AML CFT matters, which are permitted by the FIU only, right? But through the law, we are permitted to obtain any type of information from the each and every institutions. Even the commercial database, we are empowered to get the informations, right? But for the validity of legality of these information, we are signing the MOU. Otherwise, without MOU also, we can collect those informations. But in a country like ours, there are some legal barriers for that one. People may shout on that. To avoid such a thing, we are having the MOU. MOU is one legal format of collecting the information by the FIU, right? So we are signing there. We are having the MOU with the international organizations, counterpart FIUs as well, right? To share the information, I mentioned that we can collect the information from the other FIUs as well, right? FIU to FIU information sharing, right? So in our neighboring countries, we have signed the MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, to share the informations, right? More than 50 MOUs we have signed, right? So we are still in the process of signing MOUs with each and every country, share the informations. So that's the FIU to FIU information sharing, right? If you want to take the law enforcement agency informations through the FIU, we can request those informations as well, subject to the availability of the particular law of the country, right? That's how we are sharing information, not only the local institutions, but we have access to the international institution to share the informations. MOU to write FIU to FIU information sharings. Okay, then the other international relations which I mentioned you, right? We are a founding member of the APG, Asia Pacific Group on Money Laundering, which are come under the FATF Financial Action Task Force, right? And the member of Egmont Group since 2009. We are member of the Egmont Group, is a association of the FIU, right? So we are a member of that. So making you know that while securing the membership of these two institutions, it's easy for us to share the informations, right? And those two institutions are monitor our activities as well, right? We have to comply with those requirements of those two institutions. Otherwise, they will take the actions against the particular FIU. That's the seriousness of the being the member and being not being the member. Being the member, you will have a close monitoring. Not being the member, they have a most close monitoring of the operation of the particular FIU, right? To avoid such a things are happening, so we become a member of those two prestigious institutions, right? So arrangement to comply with the FATF, APG, and other international institutions, right? So we comply with the FATF requirement and the APG requirement. To comply with that, we are required to provide the periodic reports and update, sometime quarterly report to those particular institutions, sometime annual report on annual basis. Each and every time they have an annual meeting, they will judge and they will measure based on our compliance report. They will judge our situation, where we are, whether we are compliant or not. What are the weaknesses in our systems? What are the area to be complied? What are the area less complied? what are the area not complied, they will make assessment. In addition to that, each and every 3 years, they will have a physical visit to each and every country to make an assessment about our situations, country situation, whether we are vulnerable, with our legal structure, our FI is so strong to mitigate this action into the money laundering and terrorist financing. Those are the things they are look at. So because of that, FI operations is not that much of easy. If we say that we are not complied to the FATF and APG, right, they will take the action. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. There are 3 types of country listing: gray listing, dark gray listing, blacklisting. So blacklisting means you can't do the transaction with any other country that has been restricted. Dark gray means there are restrictions but not blacklisted. There are huge restrictions, right? You cannot undertake the transactions, right? Gray listing means you can do the transaction subject to the availability, but gray listing also means you have a certain restrictions on the financial transaction and import-export. That's what, in case of Sri Lanka, we faced 2 times of this gray listing in 2011 to 2013, then 2018 to 2019, right? Both we compromise and we complied their requirement, and ultimately we were delisted. There are some countries, that in this particular listing, that they are hampering their economy and the people of the particular country. Very difficult to do the transaction, especially financial transaction. You cannot undertake any international transactions if you are, whether it's you are gray listing, blacklisting, or whatever. There are a lot of restrictions. The restrictions are more deeper, more serious if it is a black and dark gray, right? Gray listing is much better than the dark gray list, but the dark gray is much better than the blacklist. Blacklist means you can't undertake any type of transaction with any other countries. That's what the situations. So we have to identify the seriousness of the FI operations, right? If you are not compliant, mean if the FI is not compliant, it means that country is not compliant. So if FI operations are hampered, the country also hampered. The action taken by the internationally, that will have an impact to the entire country. That's what, if you look at the current scenario, there are maybe a lot of stories on that, but for the moment, FI operations are perfect, right? So statutory powers of the FI in terms of section 15 of the FTRA. So what are these statutory powers? Look at that one, right? Statutory powers. By law, what are the powers we have getting? Suspension of a transaction, extension of through the High Court, right? Which I mentioned earlier. Those are the statutory powers we got, right? Based on the suspicious transaction we have provided us, we can suspend the particular accounts or particular transactions, right? Right, these suspensions basically for the 7 days at the initial stage, right? Direct FI is empowered to do these suspensions. Suspension will do by the direct FI. That's a specific power given to the direct FIU, right? Suspension of the particular accounts or transaction for 7 days, right? 7 days. And if I need, being the head of the FIU, if I think that 7 days is not adequate, I can go to the court, right? Court means High Court of Colombo, and the request for more time, right? Say 2 months or 3 months, right? If it is not adequate, I can go for the extension, right? Again, go for the extension, right? These court requests are ex parte. Ex parte mean only the direct FIU can do the request. right? Other party cannot be involved, right? So that means if I was suspended account of the Mr. Silla, right? Mr. Silla are not allowed to go to the court. Only the directive FIU allowed to go to the court and suspend the accounts. That's what we call the ex parte. Ex parte. That's the ex parte arrangement. Otherwise, if it is not ex parte, we cannot undertake this business. Right? We cannot undertake this business. Right. That's what suspension of transfer and extension through the High Court. They're empowered by Section 15 of the right FTRA. This is the specific power given to the directive FIU, imposition of penalties. Imposition of penalties. Perhaps you might have seen that the penalty imposed by the FIU last couple of years. So far, we haven't published those informations, but last year we have published it. Because without publications, bank, right, they have not taken it seriously. They have not taken it seriously. Once it published, that will have an effect to the international compliance also, right? So international rating, international compliance, international transactions are totally depend on the FIU actions. That's what. That's what. If they have not complied to the FIU rules and regulations, we impose the penalties, right? We impose the penalties, right? So that's what the right FIU actions are more serious than the other actions, right? Other prudential regulatory actions. Okay, so we can impose the penalties, one for the non-compliance, one for the non-compliance, right? What are the non-compliance mean? Non-compliance to the rules and regulations, right? Rules and regulations. Now see, number one is KYC, CDD. If you are not fulfill this requirement, right, we can impose the penalty. Right. Not only that, there are many occasions we can impose the penalty. Right. Let's see what are those occasions. Right. Okay. In case of non-compliance, right? In case of non-compliance, penalty not exceeding rupees 1 million in any given case, right? Non-compliance in any given case, 1 million, right? 1 million rupees. Any case. If you find out the 2 to 3 non-compliance, so that means 1 million into 3 occasions. So that means 3 million. Right? So 1 million we imposed in 2006. So we are in the process of revising this penalty process, because if it is a 1 million in 2006, if you look at the 2021, it should be more than double, right? Should be more than double, right? At that time, dollar rate, this is the kind of parity of the dollar, or at that time, right? This 1 million basically, right, equal to 100 rupees. Now it's become 204. So that means you can imagine the penalty, today penalty rate should be double, right? For any given case, to look at the other scenario, current scenario, penalty not exceeding 1 million at any given case, right? The number of cases are more and more, so that means 1 million multiplication of the 1 million. So that's the right case of the penalty structure. Do you think this 1 million is so huge or low? Huh? Hello? 1 million is low penalty or huge penalty? Hello? Are you listening to me? Yes.
Each valid, sir.
Right. Okay, 1 million, any given case. Right. Double the amount imposed as a penalty on the first occasions plus penalty for the each non-compliance. If you repeat the same mistake, right, same thing in the second time, right, same thing the second time, right, double the amount imposed as a penalty at the first occasions, right. Now the first time you have done it, right, we imposed the 3 million penalty, right. If you repeated the same thing in the second time, right, double the penalty imposed, right. So that means double the penalty first occasion imposed, that means 6 million plus current violations. So that means another 3 million. So that the second time your penalty will be 9 million. That's the scenario, right? So if you repeat the same thing, right? We have find out the 3 non-compliance. So impose the 3 million penalty. The second time we find out that same non-compliance existed. So the first penalty will be double plus, right? Number of non-compliance 3 again. So that means 3 million. 6 plus 3 means 9 million penalty. See the penalty structure. Fine, ne? Huh? So this money won't come to the FIU, eh? I'm not getting any sense of that. This goes to the consolidated fund of the government. Go to the treasury, yeah? I'm not getting any incentive or bonus on that. Right? Don't think I'm getting the right money from these penalties, huh? Like in a custom. Double the amount imposed as a penalty on the first occasion plus penalty for each non-compliance. Right. False and misleading statement or omission in the reports. Right. False or misleading statement or omission in the report. Report we are expecting from you. That's what I told you. It should be 100% correct. It should be 100% correct. Right? If we find out later on, if you have submitted false informations, right, or misleading, right, statement, or omission of that kind of reports, right, omission of that kind of reports, willfully, huh? Right, willfully and negligently, right, even without considering that, we think that you purposefully you have done it. So no excuse on that. False or misleading statement or omissions in a report, fine up to 100,000, fine up to 100,000, right? Or imprisonment up to 1 year. 1 year imprisonment or board. Who will be receiving this fine? Right? Who will be receiving this fine? Who will go to the imprisonment? Who are the guy who going to the imprisonment? Huh? Right? Who will go to the prison if you provide the false informations? Yes. Who are the ultimate obligate of this kind of informations? Your compliance officials, right? So that means if you are provide the wrong information, mean you have to be ready to go to the prisons, huh? Right? Not only you, depending on the case, your CEO and board of directors may also. Right? That's the case. That's the case. So because of that, remember that not to submit false information or misleading statement or omissions of the report to the FIU, right? So remember that we are in the process of amending that. This penalty might be double, right after the new enactment. Penalty might be double. False or misleading statement, omission in the report. But only thing is, so far we haven't come across these kind of things, right? Whatever the report we are getting so far is, right, most of this information is accurate. So compliance officers are more carefully on that, because they know that this clause, right? They know this clause, right? So because of that, they are very careful on that. Disclosure regarding the STR or identity of the person to prejudice investigations. As I mentioned you, if you disclose the STR information to any party, make a publicity on that, right? Or that's whatever the information you provide, right, given to other party to, right, hamper the investigation by the FIU, then again, fine up to 500,000 or imprisonment up to 2 years or both. Can be both. 500,000 penalty, 2-year imprisonment or both. Depending on the circumstance, right? Those are the penalties you will receive. Obstruction, hindering, and failure to cooperate with the FIU. Obstructions. You are disturbing to FIU officials. And hindering. Try to hide the informations. Right? Not to provide the informations. Try to hide the informations, accurate informations. Or not cooperating with the FIU. Failure to cooperate with the FIU. Right? Can you see those kind of things are any other laws? No. Right? Obstructions, hindering or failure to cooperate with the FIU. Anybody, those who are doing it, fine up to 500,000 or imprisonment up to 2 years or both. Right? When you are working with the FIU officials, you have to be ready to, right, face that situations. Right? Making the obstructions, hindering or failure to cooperate with the FIU, those are the penalties you will receive. Right? Fine up to 500,000, 2-year imprisonment or both. Right? Both. So remember that, as I mentioned you, those penalties might be double, no sooner. Right. So offense and liabilities after convictions: forging documents, concealing or doing any other acts affecting the authenticity or integrity of any documents. Right? Or a document hadane ka hari, parane ka inkel alut ekak daane ka hari, right? Authenticity ka makana ka hari, right? If we find out, right, the document you have provided are forged, concealed, right, affecting the authenticity or integrity of the any other documents, what are the action can be taken? Fine up to 100,000 or imprisonment up to 1 year or both. Right? So that's the imprisonment come under the particular individuals, those who are doing that. But remember that we have specific expert official, those who are, right, handling the documentation. They know, while touching this document, they know whether it's original or not. Right? They were trained to test those kind of things. Right? By looking at the document, they can say it's original or not. Forge your original documents, likewise. Touching those things, they are expert on that. So that because of that, We have to train those people, otherwise they don't know how to touch those kind of particular aspect. Destroying the documents. Say, remember that you can't destroy any documents, right? If you destroy the documents, fine up to 100,000 or imprisonment up to, right, 1 year both. Or destructions of the document, destroying the documents, right, to avoid our investigations, carrying out the investigations, that will carry fine up to 100,000, right, imprisonment up to, right, 1 year, imprisonment up to 1 year after the convictions, or otherwise both. Now, just a very brief summary of the FIU operations, but you know that if you look at the, right, our operations, the network is more than that, right? So FI needs major links. That's what I just want to highlight over here. Right, we have an advisory board. We call it as a National Advisory Board plus National Coordinating Committee. There are 23 key officials of that National Coordinating Committee or Advisory Board, which consists of senior official of the government. Central Bank governor will chair this advisory board or coordinating committee, right? Secretaries like Finance Secretary, Justice Secretary, Foreign Secretary, all the key, AG, IGP, right? So all those people are key members of that, right? So under that, FIU will be operated. So head of the FIU is in charge of the particular institutions, FIU Sri Lanka. So earlier that officer has been appointed by the Minister of Finance. Now that has been the appointment of the Central Bank. Monetary Board have to approve and appoint the head of the FIU, right? We are supported by the Honorable Attorney General Department. 2 senior officials, Additional Solicitor General are working with us, right? So then we have a separate law enforcement intelligence agencies come under the FIU, right? As I mentioned you, CID officials are working directly. They are come under the FIU, CID officials. They look at only of the FIU cases. They conduct the investigation relating to that, right, with the instruction of the FIU. So our, right, officials are giving the advice and they show the methodology of undertaking such investigations, right? Again, we have a cooperation with the regulators and supervisors. Whatever the regulator and supervisors come under our purview, whether it's a bank supervision, foreign exchange department, right, insurance authority, right, what you call that, foreign exchange department, right, all those institutions are come under, right, with our, right, corporations. And the reporting institutions are different reporting institutions, financial institution, non-financial institutions, and we have a cooperate with the international agencies, right? FATF affiliated bodies, right? UN agencies, ADB, APG, and Ekman Group, plus all the FIUs, right? So you look at the network of the FIU operations, right? Network of the. Now you can have idea about that. Even under this network, right? You may notice that I am not telling that we are not having the money laundering and terrorist financing activities, right? Remember that those activities cannot be eradicated. Nobody in the world are capable to eradicate those kind of crimes. So what we can do is we can only the mitigate of these crimes. Adu karanna puluwan misaka kawadaatma නැති කරන්න බෑ, right? That's what the If we take the actions, criminal will take more, right? more reactions on that. If you look at the Latin American countries, drug traffickers are more smarter than the FIU officials. If we find out the way to mitigate that one, they will try to find out the most smart way to, right, mitigate their effort. That's how those money launderers and terrorist financing work on that aspect. So yes, right, thanks you. So these few days I have spent on the FIU operations, giving all the aspect of the FIU operations and what the money laundering is, terrorist financing is, law related to the FIU, and the powers and functions of the FIU. So you might have a thorough knowledge about the FIU operations, even though you are not attached to the FIU related compliance team or FIU activities, right? So while going through this, right, listening to me and this process, you might have wide knowledge. In addition to the improve your knowledge, please go to the FIU website, look at all the rules and regulations and enactment and the press releases and our activities. Then you may have wide knowledge on that, right? So before wind up these things, right, I just want to, right, right, okay, I just want to tell you, right, I mentioned about the reporting line, right, internal STR reporting mechanism in a different countries and different institution, and a risk-based approach, and what the CDD is, right? Simplified CDD and the enhanced CDD. All those things I have covered. If you have any questions or concern, right? So we have a few more minutes before wind up. Please check with me, or otherwise, if you have any questions, you can raise these issues even in the next week, right? Next week we will have a new topic about the financial crimes, right? Okay, any questions, concern up to now about these FIU operations, KYC, CDD? Please share with me your practical problems and operations. It's easy for me to understand your issues, and you can understand the legality of that particular issues. Please. In addition to that, I have made the request to the management of IBSL to, right, have a physical class also, because before end of my sessions, I want to have assignment, right? So assignment you have to submit in physical manner, in a printed document forms. I have to find out the way to provide those assignment, because that will carry 30 marks for your final examinations, right? In addition to that, I have to discuss, right, some questions, right? Some questions, right, before the final examinations. For that, I need the interaction between you all, because I haven't seen you, at least most of you all have to have interaction with me, right, before sitting for the final examinations, right? So this interaction have to be there. Now the country is open, all the universities, the schools are open now. Those who can come to IBSL, right, those who can come to the IBSL, they can come and listen to me, and we will have interaction, right, what we have done so far. That might be useful rather than this online, because online, right, few people are speaking, others are listening, right? I just want to see your faces even, right? Because so far we have conducted these classes nationally and internationally, right? I know who are my goalers, who are the people who work in the compliance teams. So that's my ambition, to see those people, right? So perhaps another 1 or 2 weeks time, you will have a chance to come for the classes, right? Then another request from you all, my dear, all the lectures are recorded, right? That's only for your reference. Don't share it with others, right? Because I'm a using some confidential information in my lectures, even though I have not mentioned the particular bank or institutions, right? So I took the example of that, right? Don't share those examples with others. Don't talk with your colleague also, right? So that's what they have expectations, right? So be careful when you are putting those information to the outsiders, right? Because we are conducting the strictly confidential job. Our job is strictly confidential. So our class should be the strict confidential, only for the compliance officials. That's what our expectations. Okay. Any other questions, right? Things to be clarified before we wind up the class for today? Yes, please. You want to celebrate a new year today even?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Is it possible to compliance department to be under internal audit? I mean, audited by internal audit department? Is it okay or is it accepted?
Sorry. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the questions again?
Yeah, is it accepted to the compliance department to be audited by internal audit department of the particular institution?
So that is compliance department to be audited.
Yeah.
All right. Now, yes, remember like this. Right? Remember like this. Now you are handling the confidential informations. Right? You are handling the compliance. Sorry, you are handling the confidential informations. Your responsibility is through your compliance officer. The prima facie, right? We are looking that your divisions are handling the strictly confidential informations about the particular customers, right? If you have any assurance not to move out those information to anybody, right? Usually remember that usually FIUs are not audited by anybody, right? FIUs are not audited by anybody, right? Likewise, compliance are not subject to audit by anybody, but remember that there should be some mechanism to check level of compliance of your particular divisions, right? Whether you are doing the right job or not. So it does not mean that audit people will come and check each and every aspect of all, but they can check your procedure, right? How can you doing it? What are the ways you are taking it? So in that sense, you should not divulge any confidential information, right? But internal auditors are supposed to, right, look at your operations. Your banking operations, right? Your banking operations. So they are empowered to report any type of suspicious transaction which are not traced by you all. Whether it's internal or external auditors, that's the job of the people. If they find out any money laundering or terrorist finance things are happening through your banks, through your accounts, that's the obligation of whether it's internal or external auditors to report to the FI. Even we have given power for the internal and external auditors to directly report to us also, right? We have trained these internal and external auditors to how to report the suspicious through the banking institutions, happening in the banking institutions, right? Remember that aspect. Your operation, your confidential information are not divulged to other party, right? Not divulged to other party, but anybody can check your procedure. So that's mean internal auditors can check your procedure, whether you are in line with our requirements, right? They can show you, they can say this, okay, if I recommend this, but your structure is not like this, but you are not required to provide all the confidential information to them, because the compliance division informations are most strictly confidential informations, right? But generally, if you look at the banking aspect, information related to the banking are confidential. The auditors are bound to, right? Bound to secrecy provisions. But what you are having is, you are collecting all the suspicious nature of the informations, right? Those information should not go to the other hands. So likewise, there are some argument for and against on that. But basically, internationally accepted policies of the FIU is FIU cannot be audited by anybody, right? That's what we are always taking the most trustworthy people to work in the FIU, right? That's subject to the double secrecy. If we find out anybody, any conflict of interest in the particular individual, we are not taking such individual to work in the FIU. Likewise, compliance divisions also been that level, right? Conflict of interest about the particular official, those who are working the particular divisions, will hamper the level of compliance of the particular institutions. If you have any conflict of interest, those who work in the compliance divisions, right, you should not, right, undertake this compliance job, right? That's all. Yes. Yes, please.
Excuse me, sir. Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
If bank identify any suspicious transactions, suspicious account,
Yes.
can bank suspend those account without consent of central bank?
No, you can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it because that's the only power given to the FIU. No others, right? Even court suspension of the account is not directly it's once you receive the court order of suspension of the account, your legal division have to verify whether this court order is valid or not. Right now, see, look at the example like this, right? Like this, okay? Mr. KYC Pereira, number 48, right? Number 48, right? Gold Road, Panadura. We will get the court order from the, right, about this particular individual, right? Particular individuals, right? Accounts to be suspended. Right? Are you going to suspend this account immediately? You have a court order. This is the customer details. Are you going to suspend this account immediately? No, usually what the banks are doing, right? Through the legal division, they will get the verification about these particular details, right? Particular details. If the legal divisions satisfy about these 100% of correctness of these details, then you will suspend this account. Otherwise, now see, instead of 48, right, this actual Mrs. KYC Paradise in a located in 47, right? Right? Similar person in 48, right? If the typing mistake, you freeze these particular accounts, right, of this Mr. KYC Paradise number 48, that will be the violations. That's what the always, right, banks are getting the clearance from the legal division about these things. But in case of the FIU, right, once we freeze the account, right, right, say, right, given the ID like this, Mr. KYC Pereira, we are usually given the ID or passport number, right? Account relating to the particular individual, you must suspend, right? You must suspend, right? Because, right? So once we ask you to freeze the account, we will give all the details, right? Individuals, NIC, right? Perhaps correct address given by you all, but usually we are giving the name and ID, right? So our suspension is for 7 days initially, right? Within these 7 days, if we find out these, right, names or IDs incorrect, right after the 7 days, we can release these accounts. That's flexibility is there, right? If we find out, right, more numbers are coming to that, we can go for the court, because So my powers, direct FI powers is right. First limited to 7 days, then with the court permissions. That's what. Why this power has given to the direct FI? Right? The money transfer may be quick and instantly in a today's world. Right? So electronic fund can be transferred electronically. Right? Right? Immediately we have to freeze the account, suspend the account, otherwise money will be moved out. Will be moved out. Right? So these freezing order cannot be challenged. That's what we call is at ex parte. There is no challenging provisions under the law. Right? Yes. Good questions.
Thank you.
So ex parte, I mean, other party cannot go to the court. So how can we challenge it? Right. Any questions, any gray area?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sure, please.
In case if we want to do a KYC review, and if the customer is uncontactable due to any reason, so what sort of action we could do, sir? But while the transactions are taking place.
I'm sorry, it's not clear for me. Can you repeat it again?
In case we need to do a KYC review of a particular customer,
right?
And if the customer is uncontactable,
I'm sorry, customer.
What sort of action we could do?
Customer is not what?
If the customer is uncontactable,
right?
So, but we need to do a KYC review also for this particular customer.
Right.
So, if the customer is uncontactable, what sort of action we could do, sir?
Oh, so that means you cannot contact the customer, isn't it?
Yes,
right. Okay. Now, so that means the CDD, right? CDD, customer due diligence is on, right? So I mentioned you about how to undertake the CDD, right? So there are various ways to undertake this. You know that customer identifications basically based on the risk, right? Basically based on the risk. As I mentioned you, there are some customers you can't find any type of risk on that. As example, I have taken the farmers, right? Frequent manner, right? They don't have a cash deposit or income. So that means your frequency of the undertaking the due diligence, right? Maybe, right? So otherwise you can say that's okay, 3 years or 4 years interval, you can go for the updating the informations, right? But that's called simplified CDD. But there are instances where, right? So for a loan, customer may not come. Customer may not come. Right? So contact numbers are not there. Not there. Right? So the right address also not correct. Right? Also not correct. Maybe he has changed address. Right? So because of that, you cannot contact the customer. Yes, correct. But in our perspective, you have to justify you have taken this effort. What are the efforts? So the effort you have taken to identify this customer. So what are the efforts? So how can you justify it? Right? Whether you have any physical visit to customer place, physical visit, any registered mail, right? Then any inquiries from the neighbors or visitors to this place. So likewise, you have to show us effort you have taken, right? if you send the registered letter to the particular address, if it is a return mean, perhaps he may not be in that place. Or otherwise his neighbor says, okay, he's not there. Right? So now that's the register. Then if you have taken the physical visit to that place, so that means you are, or your official may visit that place, and he can justify and verify, right, whether he is not there or, right, whether he is giving the instruction for his neighbors to not to disclose his informations, right? So we are looking at the effort you have taken to verify and justify these type of things, right? That's what our expectation. So that means we are, right, we are expect you to take the maximum effort to identify the particular customer. Okay. Right. Sometime what I have seen is practically, right? Practically, but I don't like to mention it. But there are some banks, they stop the online transactions also. Debit card transaction now, customer bank right? Because there are some temporary suspension of that. But I'm not encouraging that one because that's the violation of the right of the banking. Right? But there are some ways of doing it. That's what. But if you are doing such, at least get the legal advice from your legal divisions. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Right. So next week we will talk about the financial crimes. Financial crimes mean not the AML safety related crimes, all other crimes related to the money laundering and terrorist financing. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of day with the new year.